What's up, everybody? We are live. I don't even know if I'm allowed to do this, to be honest with you. But we are going to react to this debate. Big debate. Big, huge debate. I watched Andrew Wilson yesterday. He was, man, going off. Going absolutely off. So we'll wait on it. I watched a video of him yesterday. And yeah, these two have been going at it. Again, I'm hoping I'm able to do this, to stream this, so it's not a pay-per-view anything. So but it's gonna be insane. The last I heard, it was 500 grand or something like that. That Andrew Wilson offered Candace Owens 300,000, I believe. But then she upped it to 500 grand the last time I heard. And if you don't know Andrew Wilson, he is nobody to play with, but neither is Candace. Candace has definitely has a good track record in debates. Both very, very smart, very high quality debaters, both of these people. But the main debate is about obviously what's going on with Charlie Kirk. He's close. Andrew Wilson's close with the TP USA. She's accusing him of being let's just say bought and paid for by TP USA. And you know the controversy. So yeah, it is going to be wild. I mean, wild, probably a word for it. See if I could find something on it. Like I said, I was watching something yesterday. And again, I'm hoping I'm allowed to do this. Let's see. And this was a funny video I was watching. Andrew Wilson is a funny guy, man. I don't know if anybody else is streaming this or not. I was looking at the Whatever podcast. They were doing something. Okay, there's a few people watching. Okay, I ain't the only one. I ain't the only one. Yeah. Let's see what this guy's talking about.
Attack, then give them an enemy.
So think about that. Tell the group they're exceptional, but then tell the group.
Let me go ahead and refresh this because I don't see this playing. It's quite strange. It says it's live, but it's not playing. Andrew Wilson seems to have a great many fans.
Yeah, so there are other people streaming it, so hopefully I'm not going to be in trouble. Hey, David, how are you, sir? Good to see you, man. I was just checking to make sure I can stream this. I don't want to get a copyright or something on my show. I tell you what, They should have thought about pay-per-viewing this, because I ain't gonna lie, I probably would have paid for it. This is going to be good, David. You too. Thank you, man. This is going to be a great debate, man. And a great moderator. You know, a great moderator. So let's see.
Millions of dollars. It's got to work for me and my people, right? I'm not, because it's not my money, it's their money. And if I'm giving you billions of dollars, it got to work for me. And if it ain't working for me, I'm not giving you the money. So that's good. So Israel, I'm questionable about Israel. And if you get involved in politics,
Yeah, so there's some people definitely live streaming this thing. The whatever podcast. Let's see what they're talking about.
Her boyfriend and then called him ugly. You guys seen that? It's fucking wild.
Thank you for whoever's joining me. I appreciate you guys, man. Yeah, there's a lot of people reacting to this. Yeah, I love Andrew Wilson, man. He's such a in-your-face person. You know what I mean? Let's see what happens. Yeah, it is going to be wild, David. Wild. This is a debate I didn't know I needed. But I need this. You know? So let's see what happens. Anybody else put creatine in their coffee? That's what I'm doing right now. Putting creatine in my coffee. Celeste, how are you? Me too, Jerry. Candace Owens apparently lost all touch with reality. A certified nutcase. Yeah, we're going to see, man. Good to see you, Celeste. Celeste Watson. Yeah, we got a bunch on X here. Let's see who's on. We got 20-something on X. I'm on Rumble as well. YouTube is not picking this up for me though. Not too many on. Okay, starting soon. They're getting their ducks in a row in the background. Candace is kind of a prima donna. So, and she's pregnant too, by the way. She's 7 months pregnant, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't know if Candace has actually done a debate since her situation with not after Charlie died, but after Erica basically said, "Hey, stop, stop." And she said she would stop if Erica told her to stop, aka investigating into Charlie, and she didn't. And now she's saying that she believes that TPUSA and allegedly Erica may have something to do with it. And a lot of people on the right are mad about that. I don't know what happened, man. Do I believe that kid got on a roof and shot Charlie Kirk and worked on his own? No, not at all. I don't know. Again, I thought she just had a baby. Yeah, she's a baby maker, man. I think this is I want to say this is her 4th or 5th. Something like that. But yeah, we got some people on X watching. We got 44 watching. Only 3 watching on YouTube, though. I don't know, man. The boob tubes just don't give me no love, man. If you guys don't mind, can you share the video for me, please? I'm going to put this in my group. I appreciate it, guys. Yeah, this is going to be good. Now, while they're talking, I'm not going to do too much talking, guys, while they're doing this. Because I don't want to interrupt. Melissa, when you said Candace was pregnant, I swear I heard the theme song from The Omen starts. Melissa's coming in hot. Oh my gosh. I think Melissa might be a part-time comedian, man. Comedian. Melissa, good to see you, man. Are you at work watching me or what? I'm at work right now. This is my job. You know what I mean? Good to see you, Melissa. That was funny. Yeah, she's definitely a prima donna. I think they're getting stuff done in the background, and she's getting it straight. This is prime time right here, guys. This is absolutely prime time. Now, I didn't advertise I was going to do this. I just woke up a little bit ago. Got my coffee, got my creatine in here. It's 8 o'clock here in the morning. 8:07 in the morning. So let's see what else everybody else is doing here. Blank screen.
Check Discord. Oh my God.
$30,000 are waiting on PBD show.
All right, really quick. We got in the chat. We have,
which is absolutely nuts.
Let me give everyone an update of exactly where we are. A few weeks ago, Brian Atlas, a friend of mine who runs the Whatever podcast, offered up $100,000 for Candace Owens to debate with me about the murder of Charlie Kirk on his platform. He eventually raised it to $150,000, to which I said I would match it if we could actually debate on neutral ground. I expressed this story recently on the Joe Rogan podcast. Candace and her fans' reactions were volatile, to say the least. She issued a strange counter that I needed to pay her $500,000 and that TPUSA needed to, quote, claim me. Now, I don't work for TPUSA, so I couldn't grant that concession, as it would have been a lie. She followed with an offer of me paying $300,000 to debate her at her home on the topic of if Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk and if he was a federal patsy or not. Obviously, this gives massive advantages to Owens, but I'm never one to back down from a debate challenge, even if I think the terms are fundamentally unfair. We entered into negotiations, and during those negotiations, Joe Rogan contacted us both, asking to host our debate. This is perhaps something you guys don't know. Obviously, I thought that changed everything, as that would guarantee the biggest platform for both of us to make our case on neutral ground. Unsurprisingly to me, Candace Owens declined. No control, you see. She insisted it be at her home still, even after Rogan said he would come in on his off day to do the debate, and I would still give her the $300,000. You would think if she was actually trying to change the minds of normies and reach a new audience, that's where she would go, but sadly, no. After many rounds of negotiations and a new moderator stepping in who assures us it'll be fair, we came to an agreement. I went ahead and sent the $300,000, and it has been confirmed by her staff and to us that it has been sent. I am going to clear the air on a few things. I wasn't some Charlie Kirk fanboy. In fact, I had my and still have my disagreements with him. But I always thought TPUSA did way more good than it did harm to the conservative movement. But I will never forget the series of TikTok invasions I did post Charlie's death, only to watch the lunatic left laughing and mocking and having the time of their lives watching the spiral of chaos that came after. It was enraging, to say the least. I know I'm not a very nice man. I get that. But I am a very kind man. I lamented many times to my wife how god-awful the family and friends of Charlie must feel about what happened to him after he died. Trying to find some new normal under intense media scrutiny, balancing duty and obligation with remorse, regret, and overwhelming sadness. My stated objective for my platform, The Crucible, has been unwavering, and I've never strayed from its goal. Destroy the left. Take them on everywhere on their own turf, outside their turf, at their events, in their safe spaces. Challenge them everywhere and destroy their ideas. Be unrelenting, never stop, and not one step back. This woman, Candace, has been terrorizing both the widow of Charlie Kirk and the organization he left behind. It's obvious her stated goal is to destroy the largest conservative college and high school outreach program currently in existence. Do I disagree with a lot of TPUSA ideas? I do. I would rather try to change them, though, than burn down the only organization in my lifetime to really get a foothold in academia, the thing conservatives have wanted for 60 years. In the following weeks, I will be relentlessly attacked from the Candace Owens cult for daring to put their leader to the question and for daring to question the questioners. I accept that as a side effect of challenging what has become a powerful industry of conspiracy peddling, true crime nonsense, which has a sycophantic and cult-like following. They have been at it for days, going through everything they can possibly dig up about me to hurt me, as there is multitudes of millions of dollars on the line for these creators, and they will stop at nothing to protect their interests, regardless of the lives they destroy along the way. Many creators and private individuals have reached out to help me with this financial burden, and they understand the fallout, which is likely to come for me and my family for doing the right thing when it mattered the most. Now, to be clear, I have already sent Candace the $300,000 and fulfilled my end of the contract with her. If you guys want to help me in bearing that cost and help cushion the overwhelming attacks from her sycophants, here's where you can donate. Many of us are in this fight together, win or lose. Maybe I can do something to change its course for the entirety of the conservative movement. Promise made, promise kept. Thank you for your time.
I don't know about you, but he seems very contrite, and he seems like a real one. But I'm hearing in the background that Candace Owens might have canceled the freaking debate, man. I don't know if that's real or not. I'm reading these comments. So let's see if I can find it on Twitter. See if you guys can find that. Did Candace Owens back out of the debate? I hope not, man. I hope not. Let's see. Trending. Hi, everyone. What's going on, Jerry? Hey, Gigi. How are you, man? Good to see you. Gigi, this is going to be good if it's going to happen. I'm hearing that Candace Owens may have canceled. I just played a video from Andrew Wilson. It was a really good video explaining his side of the story. And Candace is something else, man. My daughter's a big fan of Candace Owens. She really likes Candace Owens. I used to like Candace Owens too. I'm not saying I dislike her, but I don't know. I'm starting to change a little bit on her. But let's see, Candace. But I don't watch her anymore, to be honest with you. It's not my cup of tea. I'm trying to save the country, not, do all that stuff. Okay, what's up? Where is it at? Price gouging. I don't know what's up, guys. Let me ask my AI. Let me ask my AI assistant. I'm sorry, but I think she's a lunatic. That's fair, Gigi. That's fair. That is absolutely fair. But I tell you this woman has made a lot of money off of this, man. And that's not, again, I am a capitalist or whatever, and there's a market for everything. For me personally, Gigi, there's just some things I'm not going to make money on. You know, if I'm talking about my best friend and I'm really looking for his murderer, and finding out, I'm turning off the money. I'm not gonna accept the money. Candace has some kind of sickness, and it ain't just morning sickness. You know what's funny, Gigi? She's 7 months pregnant right now with this. You know, but if I had a best friend in the equivalence of Charlie Kirk, and I am really looking for his killer, and I'm doing shows about it every day, I'm not going to monetize it. That's just me, though. I know you got to make a living. I get it. You know, I'm kind of, half and half on that, but I just couldn't make money off my friend dying. Again, that's just me, though. Okay, my AI said I haven't found anything confirming it's actually canceled at the latest, including a Facebook post. Mullins was paying. Okay, nothing yet. The chat's saying it's canceled, but I don't know. Did you watch that video I just played, Gigi? From Andrew Wilson? She's got all the advantages. He had to send her in $300,000 out of his pocket. Again, he probably got donations and stuff like that. But Candace is, I don't know, man. And then, the way she met her husband and stuff like that, is it real? I don't know. I try to, because a lot of people don't like her and they're smearing her and stuff like that. I try to get through all that and try to figure out what's up. Nobody's, we're all human. We're all flawed, right? We're not perfect people. But at the same time, man, I don't know. She's kind of rubbing me the wrong way lately. I was all for it in September, October, November of 2025. I'm getting ready to go back from the start from the beginning. I just wanted to say hi. Okay, Gigi, go ahead. You're 22 minutes behind, so just put it like on 1.5 speed or something. But I wasn't really saying anything. Fast forward to the part when you see Andrew Wilson pop up. I used to like Candace too until she started her assault against Erica and poor Charlie. She is a complete lunatic. Yeah, she's definitely something. But she's a very rich woman, I'll tell you that. She's got a lot of people that like her and watch her. Again, there's just certain things I just can't make money on. I don't know. That's just me, though. All right, let's see what else is going on here. Sorry, guys. I don't know what's up with this. I'm glad I was going to start even earlier than this. I'm glad I didn't. Let's see what this is talking about.
For all you do. Thank you. I appreciate it. My speculation is that Candace intentionally does a lot of that just to get attention. I know of content creators that do that. No, one of them is not Beardo. He actually just can't read. But I do know a lot of content creators that do that with the intent to get people to clip them out. It sounds like I'm calling it as objectively as I can. I think Candace is very smart. I think she's very good at what she does. No one for 20 says Candace is going to say something like we was victims and shit. Thank you. No one. Appreciate it. Drinky says Patrick bet. There's only one way to respond to that.
Somebody get these beggars out of here.
He does those long debates on whatever podcast that's like 8 hours long sometimes. So, you'll see a clip of him maybe 5 to 6 hours in, and he keeps repeating his position, but the person he's debating doesn't understand. So then it just gets to a point where maybe he just like, you know what? You're just an idiot. You're never going to get it. But a 5-hour debate, if the person still isn't understanding your position or your argument or not even giving any arguments, I mean, that isn't an ad hominem. That's like a fact of the matter.
That's facts. Yeah, Andrew Wilson goes off on people, man.
Oh my God, this is it.
Women didn't have the right to vote until 1920.
When did men get the right to vote?
The right to vote was guaranteed to all people in 1920, according to the 19th
Yeah,
Amendment.
before 1920, were all men allowed to vote?
She tried to mute Andrew Wilson like TikTok. He shut that down fast.
No.
Okay, great.
They weren't.
And are you aware that men only got any rights to vote about a decade, roughly, before women?
The right to vote was historically withheld from men of color. It was a
It was also withheld from
Listen to
the
me.
general
Do
population.
not cut me off. Do not cut me off. I am in the middle of speaking.
Wait for it. I don't care if you're in the
The
middle of
right-
speaking. You're in the middle of a debate.
The right to vote.
You don't have your TikTok mute button, sweetheart?
No, I did not go to school for 4 years and build a platform to be talked to like this. So I will be walking away from the microphone right now, and I would encourage you to get your guest under control. He already said-
I don't give a shit. What do I care? I'm here to have a debate, and I listen to your whining. Do you want to have a debate or not?
All right, I'm not going to be talked to like this.
Well-
Oh my God.
They always rage quit, guys. They always rage quit. So yeah, we're just waiting. They had, let's see. Okay, well, they still got 30-something thousand waiting. If Candace is so smart and so sure of her facts, why hasn't she come forward with her? And is she helping the police? But then again, she doesn't trust the police, so she doesn't trust the FBI, which, to be fair, I don't trust them either. A lot of the 3-letter agencies in America. So, who knows, man? Who knows? But I tell you what, I can be doing a lot better with my time than this. I'll tell you that. I was not expecting to be sitting here waiting on this like this. Let's see what this is.
Retard Tom on the other day, and I let him speak for 30 or 40 minutes, and people were trying to cut him off, and I told them to stop. That's not what they do. They're not going to allow people to even speak, and they allow all these people to jump in, and there is no discourse, and none of them are honest, and none of them will admit what they're doing.
And for the audience watching this, you have to know when you see this final product, there's a lot of stuff that happens behind closed doors. There was still communication till midnight.
Here we go.
Stuff this morning, it's like you're trying to sell a company. It's the last 24 hours that the deal doesn't work out. But kudos to the both of you guys that you made it work. The topic of discussion today, how this got prompted, is Andrew. You said there's overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson shot and killed Charlie Kirk, and Candace, your position was he's a patsy. Tyler Robinson is a patsy. So of course we'll talk about a lot of different things, but that's kind of how the whole thing got started. For the audience watching, I think this is
because she doesn't
truly
trust
for
the
three different
FBI.
people. Number one is anybody out there that loves Charlie, respects Charlie, his legacy, what he did. We have a lot of love and admiration for what he did. He changed the lives of many people, young men, young women. You worked with him for many years. You guys were friends. You've said a lot of good things about Charlie, respectful towards him. You guys may have disagreed on some things, but you had a lot of respect for him.
They're at Candace's house right now, guys.
Is the folks out there, you that's watching this. And so for you, you've been wanting something like this to take place. And kudos for Andrew for coming out and saying, hey, I want to have this conversation, and for Candace to accept it. So you have the ability to say, I agree, I disagree, comment, do all the stuff that you're doing online. And if you want to see more of these things, any of the 3 channels, subscribe to them: The Candace Show, The Crucible. I'm sure some of the people from Crucible are watching as well, and the PBD Podcast. The more you subscribe to this, the more we're able to deliver these types of conversations to you. And last but not least, it's about the two of you. My goal is to speak as little as possible. 99% of the time, it'll be you guys speaking, and the audience will be able to see it. If I jump in, just so everybody knows, on the back end, both have agreed. In the back, there's 3 people representing Andrew and 3 people representing Candace to do fact checking. So at any point, if somebody makes a claim, the other can say, can we fact check this? I can jump in and say, fact check this. Even the folks in the back can say, fact check this. So it is a very fair conversation that we're having here. And so with that being said, kudos to Michael Knowles. Your name was mentioned a lot. You missed out right now. The last 10 minutes, we talked about you. There's a lot of love and respect here mutually from both parties, all 3 of them here. And then, of course, the great Joe Rogan that started this conversation. And he also volunteered, but it ended up being this format that we have here today. So with that being said, Andrew, your claim is overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. Opening statements, opening comments.
Sure. And what I mean by overwhelming is I just find it very convincing. That's I think that's what most people mean when they say overwhelming evidence. So I have a brief opening statement. On September 10th, 2025, Charlie Kirk was murdered. Many of you already know a lot about the events which occurred after Kirk's death. You remember the ghoulish laughter, celebrations, and madness we saw from leftists all over, from TikTok invasions, debates, posts on social media, destruction of memorials, and things like this. Within weeks of Kirk's death, a cottage industry began to form, peddling various alternative theories on how he died. What special interest may have killed him, what nations were involved, and was our own government one of them? Because this was the first nationwide traumatic event in Gen Z's lifetime, the demand for answers was severe and palpable. The leading theory from the conspiracy verse is that Israel worked with the United States government to murder Charlie Kirk. Within a day or two of Kirk's death, Ian Carroll claimed that Israel killed Charlie Kirk, and the conspiracy caught on like wildfire. This theory was built on one misleading piece of evidence, that in his final days, on or around September 8th, Charlie sent a text message reading, "Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause." This was sent in the context of a platforming dispute regarding Tucker Carlson. From this scintilla of misleading information, it was speculated that Israel killed Charlie Kirk because he would have successfully opposed the Iranian war. Now, that's a fun theory, and who doesn't like a good, fun conspiracy theory? I like them. But there is no evidence that Israel actually killed Charlie Kirk. And if Candace has some, I'd like her to actually show it to me. I'm open to suggestions, but to date, there hasn't been any. There is, however, tons of evidence that a leftist killed Charlie Kirk, just as Charlie feared they would. I believe Charlie Kirk, and I have the receipts. No, I didn't have a dream where he came to me and told me that the left killed him. No, he didn't come to me a dream and say, Candace Owens betrayed him. That never happened. In fact, I don't need dreams of any kind because I hold in my possession never before seen messages from Charlie Kirk to his security team on September 9th, 2025. I'm going to share the message with you today, which is the first time this information's ever been publicly revealed. On September 9th, Charlie's security team wrote to him, yes, law enforcement has been fully supportive and agreed to a security plan and posture. Tomorrow's event will be covered by both my team and the campus PD. If additional support is required, patrol units will be available. I have 11 on site. Charlie responded with this, okay, great. Remind them that they are there for one person's security only, because I'm somewhat worried the left is trying to kill me. That was a message sent September 9th. Whatever could he have meant by that? Well, I think he meant exactly what he said, that he was worried the left was going to try to kill him.
Wow.
Now, we'll discuss this more later on in the debate, and maybe I have more never before seen evidence that exposes just how wrong and, in my opinion, idiotic many of these conspiracy theories have been. But that's what happens when you rely on what's called the evidence of the gaps. In other words, they don't have evidence. They seem to just make up evidence. And what did they make up? Well, in my opinion, kind of whatever lined the pockets. And I think it's ghoulish to profit off of the death of a good man. But we came here today to debate. And so let's get to it. The debate topic today is 1, my belief that there's overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. And 2, Candace's belief that there's overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson was a patsy and didn't kill Charlie Kirk. In sum, the audience is going to decide who has more evidence supporting their theory. My theory is that the state is correct that Tyler Robinson is the killer, at least based on evidence so far. And Candace's theory that Tyler Robinson is not the killer and he's a patsy set up by the feds. To be clear, this is not a question of reasonable doubt. If it was reasonable doubt, and that's all it was, and that's all Candace was proffering, I wouldn't even be here having the debate with her. It's fair to have doubts, as the trial has yet to occur, and the state hasn't even begun to try to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. But Candace makes a more forceful claim. She claims that there's more evidence that Tyler is not guilty of murder and was set up as a patsy than there is for the state's case. And I just think that that's absurd. And she will not be able to demonstrate that in any way. In fact, she has almost no real evidence at all of her theory, whereas my theory is supported by compelling witness testimony, physical evidence, multiple confessions, all of which are independently compelling, but which are even more convincing as each piece of evidence corroborates the others. You'll notice the term overwhelming was included in both theories. This is because Candace demanded I defend my use of that term, which I think is fair, in describing the evidence against Tyler Robinson. She, on the other hand, only wanted to defend her theory as merely viable. That is, until I showed her clips in which she said she believed the evidence of her theory, that Tyler Robinson's a patsy, was supported by overwhelming evidence. Only then did she agree to defend that position. Regardless, we're both defending the claim that there's overwhelming evidence on our side, so it's worth defining that term. When I say the evidence against Robinson's overwhelming, all I'm saying is that I mean that as of right now, I find it very convincing. I see almost no evidence at all, only speculation on verified claims and suggestions of things that could merely be hypothetically possible. Dreams, vibes, feelings, things like this. Almost done, by the way. I have no problem defending the state's case and welcome Candace bringing up any challenges she would like. But if I'm honest, the reason I was willing to pay the $300,000 for this debate was to finally have a chance for someone to demand Candace be held accountable for the unbelievable theories and claims she's been making. Candace's investigation is indistinguishable from a leftist operation. She couldn't be doing more damage to the right if she were trying. She uses her considerable platform to relentlessly attack one of the most influential conservative outreach organizations for young people, and she's making a mockery of the online right-wing commentary class. She's harming Republicans in an election year by dividing them. She's attacking the very organization Charlie spent his life building, and she's attacking the people he loved, including his wife. And it cost me $300,000, but today I hope that she finally answers for some of that.
Thank you, Andrew.
Wow.
Candace?
I wish they show it.
I did.
Okay, great. Well, I'm not going to waste time with the preamble because I think I just want to get to the substance of the debate, and we'll just speak to the audience. I've obviously had an audience since we've been covering this case. People know that there was a personal friendship between me and Charlie, and diminishing the pursuit of something that makes sense regarding what happened on September 10th. By throwing it to, this is just people who are conspiracy theorists. These are people who are just trying to generate clicks. I don't think that people should be satisfied by that. I want people to remember that it's important to think. We've been lied to by the government a great many times over, just the last couple of years, if you just think of the things that we've learned about our government. And I do want to say this, what's been the most disturbing element, I think, for everyone is that not only does the narrative not make any sense, which I'm going to demonstrate, I don't need to waste time with the preamble going through the points or trying to insult you or pretending that I've been running a podcast saying it's just dreams and vibes like I'm Miss Cleo. And that's the reason why it's taking so many influencers. It looks like $1 billion industry of influencers to dispute everything Candace says. Is not because I'm on my platform saying I had a dream last night. I don't think I think that diminishes you as an argument. Obviously, we have presented a lot of evidence. You just presented a text message and said, this is evidence. Well, that's how this entire thing began. You're talking about how Israel got into the conversation. It was because immediately after Charlie died, one of the first things we saw was this push to make us all think and remember how much he loved Israel. It's because the prime minister of Israel, who's fighting like a 27 front war, felt that he needed to come do a little mini tour and to be strangely to state that I did not kill Charlie Kirk when nobody was having that thought that I can remember. Nobody was going, I wonder if Bibi Netanyahu killed Charlie Kirk. And then we had a round of influencers who lied and said Charlie was not changing on Israel, that he wasn't having any disagreements regarding that topic, that the day he died, he just loved Israel so much. And I demonstrated via a text message, which you just mentioned, and you're now contextualizing and pretending it was just about Tucker Carlson, which is not true. It was a part of a broader shift that Charlie was having over the last, I would say, actually on your show, it began since October 7th, which is when I began asking myself more questions about Israel as well. And so, yeah, when all of these things happen in the immediate aftermath, and then I drop a text message after everyone is denying that, Tucker Carlson then comes out and confirms the conversations that he had with Charlie. Megyn Kelly then comes out and confirms the private conversations that she had with Charlie. People then begin to ask a reasonable question, which is, why are we lying about this? If they were forthcoming with that and they had said, hey, yeah, Charlie was starting to ask questions. I think after October 7th, it's reasonable that people are starting to re-examine our relationship with Israel. We wouldn't be here today. But it has been lie after lie after lie, debunk after debunk after debunk. Yes, I did share that I had a dream that Charlie was betrayed. It's not a dream anymore. It's a reality. I look at what the organization has become, the people that they are partnering with, the lies that they are telling, the extraordinary people that they're sending out to say that I hadn't speak to Charlie since 2018, and it begins to look like a conspiracy. And just as a historical fact, that entire term was created by the CIA to gaslight people after the assassination of JFK. So it's not exactly one that makes me nervous. Like calling somebody a conspiracy theorist is essentially saying that they demand further answers and they're not accepting the Fed slop. So I'm grateful that you came today. I don't need to, like I said, take cheap shots and discuss your manner of debate or your strategy. And I'm also grateful that you shared that you had that text message today, because everybody watching knows that I have been demanding not a debate, just an open conversation with Turning Point USA. They should be here. It shouldn't be you in that chair. It should be the person that took Charlie's place, maybe Erica Kirk, maybe Andrew Colbert. He's a spokesperson. And rather than doing that, they send us another influencer. So let's see how it goes.
Just out of curiosity, are you between 0 to 100? What is the likelihood that you think Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk and killed him?
Based on the evidence right now, I don't know. I'd say 75, 85%.
Candace?
0%.
0%.
I'm at 0.
So
with what we've seen in terms of the evidence, I'm at 0%.
So not only, that maybe somebody was behind him as a patsy influencing him. You're not even saying that he didn't even shoot Charlie Kirk.
Right. I would, if you said, was he involved that day, as
Right.
I have consistently said on my platform, I would say, yes, he was. I don't know what role he played, but as the shooter, 0%.
Do you have any evidence for it?
For what? My percentage?
The fact that he didn't shoot and kill Charlie Kirk.
Yes, which I'm hoping we're going to get to all of the evidence that he feels that he has. I mean, I'm not even convinced that Charlie was shot from the rooftop on Losi that day, based on the evidence that has been.
Do you think he was shot?
I do not think that Charlie was shot from a 30-06 from
yeah,
Losi.
but just shot at all.
I don't know. I think that a projectile hit Charlie, and I'm open to other people's presentations, but I have not seen any compelling evidence that Charlie was shot by a 30-06.
Can we see maybe if we're going to have an olive branch to each other, if maybe we can establish what we consider the facts of the case to be first?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So you're not sure if he was actually shot. You're open to alternative theories.
He was definitely hit with a projectile of some description. If we're talking about was he shot from a gun, a 30-06, I would say definitively no.
Okay.
It defies common sense to think that he had a Superman neck. And even if he did have a Superman neck, which has been demonstrated, I think actually recently a YouTuber actually set up Spalhala steel cages and shot it and it went through. So under no circumstance will I.
So at least not a 30-06.
Definitively not. A 30-06 from Losi, 150 feet. No.
But you're not necessarily closing off the avenue that he could have been shot at all.
With maybe a smaller
Caliber. Okay. And then there's some things that I'm going to make concessions on that I do think we need more answers on, and I'm fine with that. And we can get to those things as well. The other thing is in the timeline, one of the things that we dispute, I think, on the timeline is that you think that Robinson drove hours away to a steakhouse in the timeline. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what's the compelling evidence that you think you have there?
I spoke to the owner of the restaurant, and I have seen the receipt. I know the conversation that I had, and I think it's enough that it will be presented. Obviously, if this goes to trial, but yes, I do believe that he was in Panguitch, which is near his grandparents' home.
Did he give you an unedited copy of that receipt?
I have seen an unedited copy of that receipt. It was not given to me from the owner. But I want to, before we get into like all the timeline stuff, I want to address what you think is evidence so we can keep this on par with what your claim is.
Well, I think that that's a piece of evidence that's in dispute. And that's why I'm.
Yeah, but we're trying to get to whether there's overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson did this.
Yeah,
so whether then starting
if you want to use the first part of that for the internal critique.
Yeah, we should go over the actual evidence that we feel.
The first reason that I think it's compelling evidence is that Tyler Robinson's rifle was found near the crime scene. So I would consider that to be very good evidence. And also the fact of the matter is that I dispute this claim that a 30-06 could not have made this wound. I think that that's absurd. 150 grain Remington core lock absolutely could shatter when it hits the neck of any human being. When you say that there's some steel neck and it's a smaller caliber, you have to make a counter explanation. Why wouldn't a smaller caliber also go through bone?
It could. I didn't say it can't.
Right, exactly. So if that's the case, then ammunition is going to be the critical key here. And if we have frangible ammunition, which we do in this case, a flex tip round, well, I'm sorry, not a flex tip, a soft point round from 150 grain Remington core lock, that's just a small jacket that goes around the actual lead piece. This thing could have split apart in air for all we know, but definitely upon impact. And we have the medical examiner who confirms this in a summary. And my team can bring that up, the summarization, which means he would have to be a part of some kind of conspiracy as well.
Okay. So just to start with your point about saying that the gun was found near him, near Losey Center, or I guess off in the woods. That gun, did you watch the testimony? Did you watch the preliminary hearing?
Yeah, we covered it live. Yeah.
Okay. So forgetting what the summary of the medical report was, did you watch the testimony that was given by the Caitlin Oliver, the ATF woman, Samantha Carner, any of those people who went into the science of?
Yes, I recall. You're talking about
the bullet analysis.
Yeah, when they went into the DNA.
Okay. So that's kind of the most relevant part.
Okay.
I'm not denying, I've never denied on my platform or anywhere else that a gun owned by Tyler Robinson was found near the crime scene, right? That doesn't remove, if you think somebody set up as a patsy, you could take a gun out of this room right now and you could walk out and plant it in the woods near a crime scene. That's not convincing evidence to me.
I concur with the fact that that's a possibility.
So I think have said on a platform that you were a gunsmith.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And for how many years?
Many years.
For many years.
Mm-hmm.
You also said that you were an Army sniper.
I wasn't a sniper in the Army.
Okay.
And I never said that.
Sorry, your wife tweeted that you were an Army sniper.
Yeah, I don't know. Like 15 years ago, she said something.
Does it change 15 years later?
She said that it was colloquial. So
Army sniper is a colloquial term?
Yeah, I was never an Army sniper.
Okay. What did you do in the Army? Did you teach this? She then corrected it and said you taught rifles in the Army?
No, I didn't teach rifle. No, I taught rifles as a private citizen.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I was an NRA instructor for many years alongside my gun shop.
As with your expertise, when she gave testimony on the stand, Samantha Carner, that there was dust and there was debris that was found in the gun barrel.
Yep.
And then when we had the person who, and this was, I believe, Caitlin Oliver, who explained painfully about the DNA, the prints.
Well, let's start with a point at a time.
I'm not done. You said something, so I'm going to finish my thought, right?
You don't want to do a point in time?
No, well, sure. If you want to respond to, but I want you to respond to 2 points. I want you to start with 2 points.
Okay.
Dust and debris in the gun barrel.
Yeah.
Secondly, the fact that there were 5 sets of prints, 5+ actually by the end of the testimony, 5 sets of prints for which we already had the woman who worked for the FBI forensics testify that above 2 prints, if you're taking a sample, it's no longer a science, right? She testified that when they took the sample of what was on the trigger, they saw 5+ prints. And among those 5+ prints, Tyler Robinson's was the most degraded. So I would like you to explain how Tyler Robinson's prints could be the most degraded when she said, actually, you could have DNA on something that you've touched. You could have DNA on something that you've never touched. And to get DNA degradation, they've looked at pieces, items 20, 40 years on that don't have degradation. Yet Tyler Robinson's prints amongst 5+ other prints were the most degraded on that weapon.
Yeah. So let's get into all 3 of the claims. First, with debris. When it comes to debris, firing a rifle doesn't always blow the debris out of the barrel.
Okay. You think there could be debris and dust.
Yeah.
He just fired the weapon.
Sure.
Okay.
Not only that, he left it in a forest. Now, I don't know if you agree with me, but if you leave a rifle in a wooded area, it's also possible that debris could get in that way. But I'm not even sure that that's what the case is. I think it's far more likely that he fired the shot, it just didn't blow all the debris out, and it often doesn't. You'll find this if you take Grandpappy's dirty rifle and it's all dusty inside the bore and you go fire it, you'll often look down the bore and there's still dust.
Okay.
Happens all the time.
Okay. And the prints?
Yeah. So the prints, we don't know all of the details on just yet.
We do. It was excruciatingly long testimony on the prints.
We don't, because they haven't gone to trial, so we don't know on the print front. But Tyler Robinson's DNA was on there. You made the claim that Lance Twiggs' DNA was on there, and it was not.
Well, when she gave the testimony, no, hold on. First, let's go to your first point, because that's wrong. We can get a fact check on that. What do you mean we don't know until it goes to trial about the degraded prints? She testified, and this is the person who took the prints.
Yes, but the problem is that inside of this particular testimony, you agree with me that there's going to be much more of the DNA analysis during the trial, right?
But you also would agree that her fact is not going to change, that among the prints, his was the most degraded.
Even
so I'm
if-
asking you to
but
address that. How could that be
here,
possible?
Let's give it, let's just grant this for a second as a possibility that his fingerprints were degraded.
It's not a possibility. It's a fact. The person who took
hang
it.
on. I'm just granting it for the sake of argument.
You should grant it because it's a fact that she presented.
So now it's granted. So what?
What do you mean? So what?
Yeah. So what? What does that prove?
It proves that if his prints were the most degraded amongst 5 of them, you're going to have to explain how that's possible if he's the one that recently fired the weapon.
Yeah. So wait a second. You're saying that it's an impossibility that if his fingerprints are the most degraded,
I'm telling you to explain it. You're the gunsmith.
Well,
so
wait a
explain
second. How would a gunsmith give an analysis on fingerprints or DNA? Do you think that I work in a DNA laboratory?
So
with
your answer
fingerprints?
is I don't know. You can just say you don't know.
But
you
I
don't
did.
have to.
But I did.
No, you said so what? So
Yeah,
say
so-
I don't know. I
but what would
actually don't
that-
have an
what would
explanation for that,
prove,
Candace.
though, is my question.
Well, I think that what it would prove is that it is a more viable theory that people who had stronger prints on the gun may have used it more recently.
Did they say who else had fingerprints on the gun?
They named Matt Robinson explicitly.
Okay.
And this was a part of the testimony where she was speaking about how they got samples of elimination samples from the home of Amber Robinson, Matt Robinson, and Lance Twiggs. Those were the 3 names they named.
So are you saying that Twiggs?
Would you like me to
fingerprints-
finish my statement?
I just want to make sure I'm clarifying.
I'm trying to finish the answer, but it can't be clarified until the answer comes out of my mouth.
Okay.
So
go ahead.
this was a portion of her testimony where she was explaining how they got elimination samples from the home. And she named Matt Robinson, Amber Robinson, and Lance Twiggs as the elimination samples that she was using. And so she explicitly said, some of them, so we can assume 2 out of the 3, were their prints were found on the gun. She explicitly named Matt Robinson as someone who had prints on the gun, and then said there were 5 people that they had taken that sample from. And again, what's also relevant here is the earlier testimony, which came from the FBI forensics analyst, I believe it was on day 2, where she said that when you're using those mixtures and those samples and you get up to 5+, it's really hard to make any sort of a determination. So both of those things are relevant. If you can't explain why his prints are the most degraded and you're saying he is the shooter, it's not really a so what. It's an open-ended question that people have a right to pursue. It's not a conspiracy. It's actually proof of my claim that there's evidence that he was set up as a patsy.
That wouldn't prove anything about him being a patsy.
It said it's evidence to support the claim that he could have been set up as a patsy.
So this is why I said earlier, so what? Because even if it's the case, this doesn't have an explanation for it yet. That doesn't actually give you any evidence in your corner for Tyler Robinson being a patsy.
Okay,
hang on. I didn't cut you off, right? You would need to actually explain how this would demonstrate Tyler Robinson. This is tied into Robinson being a patsy. Are you claiming that these fingerprints were Lance Twiggs or that he had any DNA there?
I'm saying that it could be Matt Robinson. It could be Amber Robinson. That sort of information is going to come out during the trial.
How would that tie into the idea that he's a patsy?
Yes,
though?
because if his is the most degraded prints and the information that I shared on my platform is true, that this gun was given to Tyler Robinson as an heirloom. I had conversation with members of the Robinson family, Twiggs family, both of them. You know, like I said, we're not just dreaming. And if we're having those conversations and they told me that gun was only given to Tyler Robinson because it was a family heirloom. Okay, so it was his grandfather's gun or great-grandfather's gun.
Okay.
I don't remember the difference. I don't remember which one it was. And so he got it because he's the firstborn. So, but he's not much of a shooter, is what I was told. And so he has this because he inherited it, essentially. So if I get something from my grandpa and I put it up on the shelf and I own this, you could see that could be.
How do we get to the patsy part?
you don't let me ever get to the end of the sentence. So how could we get to the Patsy part
Okay,
if I can't
I'll
get
wait,
to the end of
I'll
the
wait
sentence?
patiently till we get to
So
the
that
Patsy
could be a
part.
reasonable explanation as to why there was dust in the barrel, because he doesn't often shoot this weapon and he is indeed a fisher. And it could also be a reasonable explanation for why we have Matt Robinson's prints on this. Obviously, Lance Twiggs, even if he has prints on things, they live together. That doesn't really mean anything. But that could demonstrate that somebody took his weapon and put it somewhere. His prints are the most degraded. Somebody else's prints, there's more presence of somebody else's prints. And that could demonstrate that somebody is taking items from his house and putting it into
But it
various
also
places.
could demonstrate nothing. So the problem that you have here is that this is pure conjecture.
No,
This is not evidence that Tyler Robinson is a patsy. It's only evidence that you have conjectured up that, well, if it's the case that these are the more degraded prints, then therefore that means must be patsy because dad's fingerprints on gun.
I didn't say must be
Describe
patsy.
how this actually links in to Robinson being a patsy.
Okay, I just described that for you, so I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you, so I'm going to move on from that. But to just go back to your point about this is not evidence, you can't make that claim because the entire basis for why you think that there's evidence for Tyler Robinson being the person that took the shot is based off of a hearing under Utah 1102 rules, meaning that they are doing the exact same thing that I am doing. This is the state. You said you're here to represent the state. Well, did you watch the preliminary
no, I
hearing?
didn't say I was here to represent the state.
The state's position you think is strong and convincing.
What
okay?
I'm here to do is represent my own opinion.
You
which
said
is
in
that
your opening
based on
statement,
based on the evidence presented so far by the state.
the state has
that I find
presented
it convincing.
evidence under Utah's 1102 rule.
But this doesn't demonstrate any patsy.
No, that's very
behavior.
important because that rule is hearsay. So you can't say at the same time,
Great.
Candace, you're not allowed to. And what that means under the Utah rule, which I'm sure you know, because I'm sure you watched the preliminary hearing and yourself understand what that means, is that the entire hearing was hearsay. It means none of that information that was presented is going to be allowed. The majority of it, the overwhelming majority of it is not going to be allowed at the trial. They're allowed to present when it's just a probative hearing.
I don't think all the evidence that was put in was hearsay.
Okay, you didn't watch this case.
But not only that, no.
This is a huge point. This is
Hey,
crazy
we
that you
can
don't
call
know
for a
this.
fact check. If
Yes,
all the evidence
we need
was
more than a
put
fact
in,
check. This was every single
the
day.
team in the back is
Utah
actually
rule
saying They want to
1102.
go there. So they said there's a medical examiner's explanation of the shooting that's in the back. Rob, if you want to pull it up, and then Candace, if anybody from your team wants to pull something up, no problem as well. But they're requesting it. If you guys got it, pull it up so we can show it. And in the interim, is that it?
Yeah. So I'll read this.
Just what are we looking at, just so we know?
Yeah. So this says the bullet, or at least part of it, sequentially perforated the interior left of Mr. Kirk's neck, strap muscles of the left side of the neck. This is a summary, by the way. Left common cartoid on the left internal external jugular veins. The bullet also obliterated the left side C27 vertebrae, transacted the cervical spinal cord. Medical examiner observed a significant portion of Kirk's cervical spinal cord was traumatically absent. Mr. Kirk suffered from other severe injuries, including bilateral, apical, and posterior intercausal hemorrhages, pulmonary, apical hemorrhages, multiple disruptions to the thyroid, et cetera, et cetera. So the summary of the examination is that he was shot.
Okay.
That was what they were pulling that up for.
Okay. And I'm not disputing that he could have been hit with a projectile. We're not disputing that. So I don't know why this was brought up as a fact check. Could you bring up 1102 Utah rule? Because this is an unbelievable point that you're making by saying that I am not allowed to infer off of evidence.
You can infer. I'm trying to follow the inference.
But your entire reason, like you asserted that you believe there's overwhelming evidence on the basis of what we saw in the preliminary hearing. The entire preliminary hearing was hearsay.
Yeah, I'm fine with your inferences.
No, you just literally said I couldn't do that. Yes, I can.
No, I didn't. I'm just saying from your inference, how do we get to Patsy?
This is how you got to Shooter. The Tyler Robinson did it.
No,
the same way that you
I
got
didn't
to
get
Tyler
just
Robinson.
Shooter from that.
Yes, you did. You again, this is something important. So we should pull up a fact check about what the 1102 Utah and under their constitution, for the sake of a preliminary hearing, they do not have to have hard evidence. They don't have to put people on the trial.
They don't have to.
But no, that's why the entire hearing was basically hearsay. Officer Bagley
but
was
not
saying,
all of it, like I said.
The overwhelming majority.
Again, no dispute.
Outside of the one that you don't want to give. Please don't cut me off.
Though.
Outside of that is what's in dispute. It means that your entire brand of saying you don't have evidence, falls apart when the entire preliminary hearing is based off of hearsay. In fact, Lance's testimony before they had about an hour debate, actually, maybe it was more than an hour debate before he sat, and they said, this is not going to be allowed. You wouldn't even be allowed to do this. We'd be able to cross-examine him. The questions that they're asking Lance are all leading. And what did he say? Well, I'm the magistrate under Utah Constitution, 1102. It is my job to allow all of this so we can see if the state has enough here that we can then move to a trial, which will then, they would not allow this stuff. They would say we get to cross-examine Lance. Lance
But
just
you're
can't
arguing
willy-nilly
things I'm
say,
not disputing.
no, but the entire substance of your argument is that people can't infer off of evidence.
No,
That's what you're saying
it's
to
not.
me. When you say, Candace,
Here,
you
I'll
can't
give you
talk
the
about the degraded
argument
prince, which is a
now.
fact.
Yeah, I'm not
and then
saying
infer
that.
off of that
Didn't say
that
that.
Tyler could have been a patsy.
You're just
telling
making stuff up. So here's
I'm not
what the
making stuff
position
up.
is.
I'm
I'm
not making
asking
stuff
this.
up. I'm saying that thank you. Let's pull that up. Let's pull that up. I am doing exactly what the state did. I'm looking at a piece of evidence and I am saying,
But you're not showing me how you get there.
Can you
from the
describe to the
inference?
audience what Rule
yes.
1102
So
means?
this, just so everybody who's watching this at home understands what I am saying, even if he doesn't. What Andrew is arguing is that I don't have the right to extrapolate from
Never
a
made that
fact
argument.
like
Just making it up. Just purely making it up. I'm asking based on
Andrew.
based on
can I
your
show my evidence? You just showed yours. Reliable hearsay.
You'll get a chance.
Reliable hearsay in criminal preliminary examinations. The entire preliminary hearing that you just saw was on the basis of reliable hearsay. And what that means essentially is the people who are making the statements can just say, Patrick told me that he did this on Monday. Patrick's not here. And that is, they can allow that into the hearing. That's just because it's just meant to be probative. And so it's the state saying, here's what we have inferred. So you are allowed to take a piece of evidence and then you are allowed to infer off of that evidence. Okay. Case in point, that's a demonstration that's a demonstration of what I just did. I said the prints were the most degraded off of Tyler Robinson. And from that, what I am inferring is that it's plausible that Tyler Robinson was set up.
That doesn't, that's the point in contention.
That's not a point in contention. That's
the point in contention.
It's not a point in contention. If you're saying it's a
It
point,
is the point in contention.
It's not the point in contention. I'm telling you that was what the entire hearing allowed for. So the evidence that he is describing,
we're asking you
that he is using to argue his case is all based on inference, not fact.
Great.
Inference, not fact. So what they are inferring off of the facts.
So again, we're going to take this and I'm just going to even grant it because it's irrelevant. I'm asking how you get to the inference that even if you dispute that piece of evidence, that means patsy. I'm looking for the logical chain for how you get to that inference.
What I am telling you is it's the exact same way that when you tweeted, I think that this evidence is overwhelming. When they say that looks like Tyler Robinson's car, he drives a similar car. Okay. They are inferring that that's Tyler Robinson.
Can you walk me through the inference so that I understand?
It's not a fact. It's not a fact. When you show a blurry image, which you kept citing that we have images.
I'm talking about your inference that the fingerprints, even if they're degraded, equals patsy. How do you get that inference?
I didn't say it equals patsy. I think it is enough evidence that it should be explored, which is exactly what this preliminary was in the inverse.
That's not what in dispute. What's in dispute is when you said, I'm using this as evidence that he could have been a patsy. I'm asking, how do you get the inference to patsy from that?
Because what I am saying is that it shows that somebody else had more DNA presence on that gun than Tyler Robinson did. So it is plausible, which is all they're doing. They're presenting plausibility based off of the facts. Okay. It is plausible that somebody just took his gun and put it there. That's it.
Is there equally
that's how it works.
And is there equally 100 other plausible explanations?
I think that's the reason why most people are exploring when things don't make sense.
Got it.
So yes, at the beginning of that, this is how the court process works.
So
just so we're clear,
if there's 100 other
state's
plausible
evidence and they're inferring.
explanations, then Candace, why is it that we should go with this idea that it was a patsy?
I'm not saying that we should go with the idea that it was a patsy. I am saying that there is.
I thought that was the whole defense. Your whole claim.
No,
today.
my whole claim was that there is more evidence that he is set up as a patsy.
How does that equal evidence of patsy?
I don't know how many times I can say this. Like I'm saying that I am using the exact same mechanism that you are accepting for some reason in the Utah courtroom.
Yeah.
Right. To say, I'm going to look at the evidence and I'm going to infer an alternative theory. So you just saw the states and you're accepting it. And they have not presented any concrete facts. You listed on your own Twitter that what you found to be convincing was something that looked like his car pulled into the driveway, a blurry image.
No, I didn't.
The standard white guy coming up the steps that could literally be anyone.
This never happened.
Can we get a fact check on that? Can we pull up his tweet where he goes over
I didn't
the
say
four?
that's what convinced me.
When you actually didn't say it's what convinced me, but you said this is the evidence that you found to be overwhelming, and you named, I believe, actually 5 things. I think you said it was his car. You said it was.
Well, there's multitudes of things that I find.
You just said you didn't say
evidence.
it, so we're going to get a fact check on that. You did.
Go ahead.
You said the blurry images coming up the steps. Quite literally, when Officer Bagley testified, they talk about when I'm talking about making inference. This is the most I thought was the most absurd testimony I've ever heard. And pardon me, it was actually Hull, David Hull. They asked him a question. How did you know the guy in the maroon shirt was the same as the guy that came up the stairs later that was wearing the American flag black shirt? And he said, they're wearing the same shoes.
Why is that absurd?
That's how you decided these two are the same people. Oh, wow. What a scientific. They're both wearing Converses. Okay. That's an absurd thing to say. That is not evidence that these are the same people if we're both wearing Converses. That was what he said. That's what flew on the stand.
But I still don't understand how that would be absurd. If somebody,
it's an absurd thing.
For instance, if somebody were to change their clothes but keep the same shoes on, wouldn't you utilize the shoes to try to track that person? If
The
they were changing
idea
their
that on a
clothes?
college campus, 2 people wearing this totally different outfits, but both wearing Converses can't happen is such an absurdity that I don't even need to argue that. I'm just going to let people deal. Why is it absurd? Just concede that point. Obviously, it's an absurd thing to say.
I'm not
I know
sure,
these are the same people because they're both wearing Converse.
Yeah, I'm not sure if in context that's what happened, but
It
even
is.
if it
You
is,
can get a fact check on it.
But even if it is, again,
And it was
if
Hull.
we're utilizing inferences, whenever we're dealing with logic and we're dealing with making a logical inference, we're going to take the entire collaboration of evidence and then we're going to make inferences from that. You would do that with any type of logical proposition. Otherwise, you could never have a true or false claim.
But you just told me I couldn't.
So
do
when
that.
that never happened. You're just making stuff up. So anyway, when we're talking about logical inferences, what I'm looking for is the logical inferences that you have that Tyler Robinson's a patsy based on the totality of evidence that you have.
We can keep going through your other evidence. We should find his
Yes.
tweet where he lists the reasons that he was convinced.
So let's start with the 30-06. I think that's fine.
Your team's looking for. Do you remember how long ago that was?
The tweet of the 5. Did you delete it or no?
No,
Did
I
you
don't
delete
delete
tweets?
tweets.
Okay, cool. I just look for. He said
Unless I
it was his
misspell.
car. It was his. It was the car, and it was definitely the staircase photos, and it was when the trial was
Okay,
going on.
she has it.
She has
If you got, Skylar has it. If you want to pull it up so we can see
Fantastic.
it.
Somebody said, so give me the clear evidence right here. I want you to provide it right here. All I heard from the investigator was, we believe this to be Tyler Robinson. Is belief something you go as a fact? You wrote the car pulling in. That's a totally blurry image. Robinson getting out of it. You have no idea if that's Tyler Robinson. The fact that he is seen 4 other times on camera, the fact being just a standard white boy with brown hair was seen walking up staircase. The DNA on the roof, we should discuss that. And on the screwdriver that he left behind, it's overwhelming, man.
Yeah, but that's not an exhaustive list.
Well, just so we're clear, you did tweet it.
But it's not an exhaustive.
Yeah, but
well,
just
you
5
said
seconds ago, you should concede.
You said I only said this one thing and said that was overwhelming, actually.
That's not what I said.
It is. You could even pull
Patrick,
your
did
own
I
clip.
say that?
Can you fact check if that was it or not? I did not hear her say
So the
this.
thing that's funny here is we still aren't getting to any of these inferences. So
Why are you pivoting?
so
but
that-
just say
well,
you were
I'm
wrong.
not. I'm
It's cool
gonna-
to just say I was wrong. I didn't say it.
I'm not wrong. So back to the tweet aspect here. It's really funny. That's not an exhaustive list of why I find it.
I didn't say it was exhaustive. I just said you said it.
And on top of no, you didn't. You said that I only said this one thing and then said based on that it's over. Well, I didn't. You didn't mention that I mentioned the screwdriver, DNA, all these other things. You never mentioned any of that. So no, you're actually incorrect there. But on top of that, moving over to the actual evidence itself.
Are you
Yes, I'm okay. Anyway, back to the
ask
evidence
if you're
itself.
okay.
Yes,
Actually,
I'm
I'm glad you're asserting that you're
But
okay. I wasn't worried about your health. I'm just
but
saying
back
that
to
I just
this.
said you tweeted this. You said no, I didn't. We got a fact check, and now you're just gonna gaslight me and pretend that I
There's
said
no gaslighting.
It wasn't exhaustive. I never said that. I just said you did say this.
Zero gaslighting.
I didn't say you couldn't have said more,
Yeah.
but I would like to address what you
this
said
is
in
your
that tweet.
time. If this is how you want to spend it interrogating my position, you can do it that way.
I'm just addressing what you asserted on your Twitter was like the hard evidence that convinced you was overwhelming. That's literally
That's
your debate
not what
claim.
you said. That's not actually, in fact, what happened in that exchange. I was here for it.
So what's your position here?
Yeah. So my position is that based on all of the evidence, which has been demonstrated, at least all the evidence to my knowledge, that I am actually not seeing anything that's compelling is an alternative theory. I'm not seeing anything which is convincing me of something otherwise than what the state is presenting as evidence. That's my position.
This is the easiest $300,000 she ever
So just
made.
going back to what you did actually tweet, is it fair for me to ask questions about that?
We're not getting
That's
anything
the
done
only
here, guys.
Tweet you're going to ask me about?
Well, we're addressing your claim that the evidence is overwhelming, and this is a tweet where you listed what you felt was overwhelming. I think that's fair,
but not
right? I feel like that's fair,
but not exhaustive. Just so you know.
And I never said it was
Okay.
exhaustive,
Go
even though
ahead.
you said I did.
Sure, whatever you want.
But yeah, so going back to that, all of that, as you say to me, well, Candace, why are you addressing and making inferences off of the testimony?
No, I never asked you why you're making inferences. I asked you how, with the inference you made, you got to the conclusion.
Okay, so I would like to know how you got to the conclusion. And I'm just going to throw it right back at you because
Yeah,
for some
that's
reason
fair.
you permit yourself to do it. And that's what I'm demonstrating is that you permit yourself to do it.
Mhm.
And then you say, when I do it, it's a conspiracy, right?
No.
How are you able to infer off of blurry staircase images that that is Tyler Robinson?
Yeah. So in that particular case, what you do is you take that evidence, you combine it with other evidence. So it's not just that Tyler Robinson is seen in the staircase.
Why are you calling him Tyler Robinson in the staircase? That's what I want to get to.
Yeah, because I mean, we'll just use this. If you don't agree that that's Tyler Robinson, then you would just have to humor me. I think it is, so I'm using the name.
But why do you think it is? Because you make everybody, you call them
literally
conspiracy
what I'm trying
theorists.
to explain to you.
Okay.
So if you're asking for my inference, why I think it's Tyler Robinson is because Tyler Robinson said in his text messages, you'll be able to see me on security footage at the campus. Said it in his own messages. On top of that, Twigs, yes, you can pull them up if you want to fact check that. He did say. On
Yeah,
top
I would.
of
I'm
that,
sorry. I actually think I really did miss that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I
Yeah.
don't remember him saying you're going to see me in.
I'm
in
paraphrasing,
Can
but
we
it was
pull that
close
up?
to
Yeah,
it.
I know. I think
And
that's
by the
not
way,
right.
Twigs himself said that he
You're
had
gonna see me
some
on the staircase.
that he had some maybe a tiny bit of doubt, but it sure looked like Tyler Robinson inside of this various surveillance footage that he saw.
So Lance, sorry.
Hang
Go
on,
ahead. You're
hang on.
right.
So there's multiple reasons why it is that I believe that that's Tyler Robinson,
Mhm.
not just because of blurry footage.
Did you have a dream? Just kidding.
No, it's because I combined multitudes
sorry.
of evidences.
Okay, so let's address those multitude of evidences. The first one we're working on a fact check on because I do not ever remember him tweeting. That's me in the stair. I mean, or
Well, he didn't tweet
texting.
it.
Texting that's me in the staircase. I think that I
didn't say that. I said I literally didn't. What I said is that he texted over, you'll be able to see me in footage at UVU. And I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he said.
Yeah. Could we get a fact check on that?
You
The
can find
second
it.
thing you said was Lance's testimony, and actually what Lance says is I'm not 100%.
I agree.
But in terms of what he wears, again, pointing out the absurdity,
Mhm.
he wears Converses. He wears sneakers. If his boyfriend is not 100%, I'd like to understand why Andrew Wilson is overwhelmed by it. That's what I'm trying to get to. And lastly, I would like to remind you that Lance's statement would not be permitted. This was a huge part of the preliminary hearing, that they were leading. All the questions that were asked of him were leading, so they would be struck down at the actual trial. And also, I would like to remind you that he got use immunity for that. Use immunity.
I understand.
Which means like
that happens, by the way, all the time in these
and
cases.
I'm wondering why it particularly happened for Lance in this testimony. And I would also like to point out that something that's remarkable about this, again, leaning to my perspective, that Lance has a lot more, which I have said many times, Lance has a lot more involvement than the feds are letting us know. I think more is going to come out because they interviewed him on September 11th. And then for whatever reason, just ahead of what was supposed to be slated as the preliminary hearing, which was initially supposed to be in May, they bring him back to do this interview, which in my opinion should have never been allowed. And I actually agree with the defense that it's a
Draw for the
violation of
score. Good morning to
constitutional
you,
rights
brother.
not to allow them to have
Happy Friday.
cross-examined him. But I understand Utah 1102 do what
Good
you
point,
do.
Melissa.
It's all
Good point.
hearsay. But to allow it in that way for him to just be able to also have use immunity, knowing that he's not going to get in trouble. He could literally get up there and lie about anything and he's not going to get in trouble because the use immunity was given to him in April, I believe. April 28th is when they gave that testimony to the defense. I think they shot it in like April 20th of 2026. That is not compelling to me for somebody who has use immunity to give a testimony and to say, I'm not really sure, but definitely like he wears jeans and stuff.
That's not what he said.
He did. Actually, you can get a fact check on that.
Yeah, that's
Skyler,
not,
I think
he
you
said
pulled
much
it up
more
if you
than
want
that.
to. So a couple things we have. We have Rule 801, Tyler's messages that says it's not hearsay. But first, go to what Candace is asking about. Skyler, I think you have it. You just texted me if you want to pull it up. You said you have the text. If we can put that up on the screen. Thank you.
What's up, Greg? Who's the demon?
It was me. Look at the
Candace?
pictures from the surveillance
Oof.
footage. It was me. Okay. I literally said to you, it's not an oof. I said I didn't remember this, and I'm happy to have a fact check on that. Okay. I didn't call for the fact check saying you're wrong. I literally said I don't remember that from the
Well,
text
I'm just saying
messages.
to you, like,
Okay.
I'm trying to be concise
Okay.
for you.
And then also bring the 801 that you just said. What was the other one?
Yep, the 801. Tyler messages saying it's not hearsay. If you have that as well.
Fair enough, sir.
There you go.
She's losing this debate right now, in my opinion.
What are we saying is not hearsay? I thought
Statements
you said
that
the
are not
messages.
hearsay. A statement that meets the following conditions is not hearsay.
It was hearsay. They said it in the trial.
Hang on.
Okay.
Okay. Is consistent with the declarant's testimony, and the declarant denies having made the statement or has forgotten, or is consistent with the declarant's testimony and is offered to rebut the express implied charge that the declarant recently fabricated or acted in recent improper influence or motive in testifying. So then wouldn't that mean that a bunch of this wasn't hearsay?
So the issue with his
I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Would that mean that a bunch of this wasn't hearsay?
So the opposing party, which down the line, like I said, they talked about this for about an hour and a half, and they discussed how if Lance was in court and he was giving his first party, giving his testimony as the opposing party, whatever, all of this would be fine. They had an issue with how the questions were being asked and that they were not allowed to cross-examine him.
Mhm.
So that is why his video testimony would not be accepted in the main trial. And what I said to you is this entire preliminary hearing is under Utah's 1102. So they are allowed to just use hearsay. And
No,
so the
you didn't
judge,
say
when
that.
he
You said most of it was hearsay, actually.
Yeah,
The
it was.
overwhelming majority.
Well, I mean, I'm leaning now into my opinion that some scientific aspects, which they kept asserting, like the federal rule 403 or 402, some of those parts were quite
Sounds
scientific.
like you're backtracking quite a bit.
No, I'm not backtracking at all. What do you feel
Okay.
let me help you. Where do you feel like I'm backtracking? It
Well,
literally was done under Utah's 1102.
Yeah, nobody
She's
disputed
losing.
that. What the dispute was is whether or not most of it was overwhelmingly hearsay. Is that
Yes,
the case?
it was. Yes, that's
Okay.
a fact. I'm not backtracking on that
And
at
what
all.
are the things?
How many times did you, I mean,
Yeah.
if you watch the preliminary hearing, it's like
Yeah.
they constantly, I'm 1102, 1102, 1102,
Mhm.
1102,
That's true.
1102. And the reason for that is because it's allowed. I'm not saying it's illegal. It's allowed at this
Mm-hmm.
stage, but I'm just reminding you that when you're going to sit across from someone and your claim is going to be, where is your hard evidence? This is what I heard, and I agree with what I'm watching. You are watching the state put on a hearsay
Yes.
preliminary
There's gonna be
hearing,
hearsay. True.
and all of those things are not going to be allowed, right? Even when they got into witness statements and things of that nature. There's a reason why they swear you in and they say, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth. Did you,
These
write
things
this
are not in
statement?
dispute.
So it's the overwhelming majority of what you saw was hearsay because other people were representing other people's statements. They were saying they had conversations. We don't know where it came from, all allowed at this stage. Okay. But it's hearsay. So it
But
doesn't,
even a lot of that stuff may not fall under hearsay under what we just read, right?
but the evidence that you're speaking about, like
Mhm.
when you're just, when you say that we're going off vibes, you don't know Tyler Robinson. Okay. His boyfriend is not 100% it was him. So I'm going back to your points that you made that this was overwhelming evidence for you.
Mhm.
That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, overwhelming just means
You can't
convincing.
consider another option that there
Well,
could have been
hang
another
on. Do you
white
agree
guy
with me
wearing
that I-
Converses on campus.
Yeah, do you agree with me that I said that what overwhelming means to me is that it's just very convincing to me?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I find it to be completely unconvincing.
And that's fair.
Because
I understand that
I
you
looked
can
at those
find-
blurry photos
Yeah.
that they presented and said,
Mhm.
your statement on right now is that
Yeah.
he's wearing Converses and he also that's just
But
crazy
these
to
aren't
me.
the evidences that I find the most convincing.
Well, you said that in your Twitter.
That's not the only thing I've ever said on my Twitter about this case.
Right, but the question that was asked of you was pretty
Mhm.
direct.
Yeah.
Right? What did you
and
find
this
to
is
be
not an exhaustive list of all the things
well,
that
that's
I
not
find
what you said
convincing.
in the tweet. You can tweet longer too. It's not like we're limited now to 240
So,
characters
so
anymore.
wait, so anything that I tweet and all other tweets that I've ever made are now excluded because I used the word overwhelming in this one.
Well, they
even
wanted-
though all of this information I've said so publicly over and over and over again is what informs my position for why I'm convinced on the case. That's bizarre to me.
I feel like this is Andrew versus Andrew. Somebody asked you a question. What are the points that you find to be the most overwhelming?
Nah, you're good, bro.
And
You're good.
answered,
You mean
and
from that day, from that particular day of the hearing that I was responding to?
okay, this is something you find to be more overwhelming? Let me ask you that question.
Yes,
Okay.
that's
What
what
do
I
you
was
point,
saying.
Steve.
ahead,
Good
go ahead.
point.
What do you find to be
So,
more overwhelming?
Yeah.
Can we do this? Do we want to get into it, or do we want to do a quick ad break? Are you guys good to keep going, or
I'm fine to keep going, but we can also.
would you like to take
yeah.
a quick break?
Doesn't
or
matter to me either
if
way.
we're going into a different topic, that may be another 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I don't want to stop you
Yeah,
guys in the
let's
middle of it.
end
So
it
what
on
would you
what
like
you
to
find
do?
to be more overwhelming.
Yeah. So if we're for me, it's the confessions, the text messages, all of that is what I consider to be, from my opinion, that's the most convincing for me.
Okay, we should discuss the text message confessions when we get back, if you'd like to.
Okay.
That's a good idea. Folks, we're going to take a quick ad break. We will be back in 3.5 minutes. Thank you.
All right, you guys, for nearly 2,000 years, Christians have lived continuously in a small village.
All right. So not a lot is getting done here, in my personal opinion, and I don't have a dog in this fight. My dog is always the truth. Okay. I tried to do my best to be objective, and Candace Owens right now, in my personal opinion, she is losing this debate. Now, how is she losing? Melissa says she is saying there is more evidence that points to Patsy, but then after she talks, she says, quote unquote, it could just be as much. So it's equally plausible, but not more overwhelming. Good point, Melissa. Good point, ma'am. Should have started with the text message. Yeah, I agree, Steve. So she's blowing smoke up people's asses. She has a position that she's taking, and her, whatever side you're on right now, if you're on Andrew Wilson's side or TPUSA / Erica Kirk, whatever side you're on, you're going to think your side is winning. If you're on Candace's side, you're going to say Candace is winning. Me personally, I don't watch Candace as much. I do like Candace Owens. I don't think she's a demon. I don't think she's an evil person. Me personally, I wouldn't be doing what she's doing. Again, if I had a best friend that died the way her best friend did, I wouldn't be profiting on it. I just wouldn't. I might be obsessed with trying to find out who did it, but I wouldn't be making a profit off it. That's just me, though. Again, I am a capitalist. I get it. But, it is what it is. I was with her the first few months, but now I'm just like, I don't know. But objectively speaking, I believe Andrew Wilson right now is winning this debate. Let me know what you guys think, please, in the comments, because I'm listening to it and I'm just like, yeah. Candace is definitely a, man, I'm on Guy's side, brother. Me too. And I believe Candace, and again, just the way she set this whole thing up, basically saying that Andrew Wilson, and again, they're running ads. I get it. They got to make money. Speaking of that, guys, if you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do that. Please and thank you. And also consider being a member of the channel. I do not have any ads on this channel. I'm trying to do this full time, and this will help. There's 6 different levels you can do to join to be a member. 99 cents all the way up to $10 a month. And I am working on the perks that you'll be getting, but I'm starting signal groups that you can get into, and we can talk every day, after our show and our live streams and stuff like that. So consider joining and be a member to the channel. But yeah, so I get it. People got to make money. I'm on the I really don't know side, and I don't know either one of these two from Adam and Eve, and I don't care about them. Hopefully they figure that out. Okay, fair enough, Steve. Well, I appreciate you being here regardless of you not caring about them. That means a lot, because again, certain platforms are not putting my my content out. So if you want to help, please subscribe to the channel, but a big thing you can do is share the video. I really, really appreciate that, guys. I really do, because again, it's tough out here for a small content creator like myself, and we're trying to do the best we can. You know what I mean? What we're working with. But yeah, so I'm listening to both of them. I'm watching their body languages and stuff like that. Ad hominems are not as bad as I thought they were going to be, but again, we're just getting started. I don't know how long this is going to be. It might be a 2-hour debate. I don't know. But again, Candace Owens is getting the easiest $300,000 ever. Now, I'm not saying because she's winning. I'm just saying because they're just sitting in a chair. And again, I'm not saying they don't deserve the money, but she made him, wire over $300,000 to do this. Again, everybody needs to get paid. Again, I'm a capitalist, but I'm just like, what are we accomplishing here? And again, whatever side you're on, you're going to think your side is winning. But if you're in the middle and you just really want to know who killed Charlie Kirk, and you haven't been paying attention to Candace, or anything else. I think Andrew Wilson is slightly winning from my point of view. But what do you guys think? Let me know, please. We're also live on Rumble as well. And we're also live on X. Right now, it says we have 115 people watching, 111 on X. And again, you know how X numbers are. They're a little, a little different. Let's see. They go by impressions the most. What do we got? 110 over there. So thank you for everybody that went over there. I appreciate that very much. And yeah, we are all jealous. We all want $300,000 to argue with Andrew. I don't know if I'd take $300,000 to argue with Andrew. Andrew would destroy me in an argument. That guy can debate. He really can. And Candace is good too. She just paid for that new baby. Yeah. Well, she's a very, very, very rich woman. If you didn't know. I mean, I know this is not like perfect what I'm getting ready to show you. Candace Owens net worth. And again, her husband is a very rich man too. But according to this, Candace Owens net worth is $5 million, it says. I think it's higher than that, to be honest with you. But let's see. Her wealth is generated through several key revenue streams. Her independent show generates significant income with estimated annual podcast earning ranging from $2 to $10 million. Okay. However, other financial analysts place her personal net worth between $8 million and $12 million. Well, her husband is a very rich guy. Let's see. Candace Owens' husband net worth. Let's see that. Again, I'm not trying to pocket watch here. I'm just trying to make a point. See if that'll pull up. But yeah, they're still on a break here. Let's see. The estimated net worth of Candace Owens' husband's George Farmer varies significantly across sources, with most recent reports placing it between $180 million to $240 million as of 2026. Like I said, they're a very rich couple. I will take $300,000 to argue anyone with any position. I promise to attack the topic, not the opponent too. Yeah, that's true. That's a fair point, because $300,000 is a lot of money. And again, it's about the percentage of your money supply of what you already have. And if she's worth $5 million, I mean $300,000 in comparison to $5 million, that's a nice chunk of change. I think she's worth more than that. But again, her husband is worth what I just showed earlier. If he's worth, let's take the low end of 180 million, So let's just say 180 million plus her 20 or 10 or 5 or whatever she is. We'll just say 200 million for both of them. 300,000 still a nice chunk of change for 200 million. That'd be like if you were worth 200,000. What would 300,000 ratio now? So if they were worth 200 million and they got 300,000, what if you were worth 200,000? What would that be? $3,000 maybe? Or is that $300? I don't know. It's still a nice chunk of change. Again, for us, 300,000 is a lot, but for them, it is a lot, but not as much as it would be for us, because a lot of us aren't millionaires. I definitely am not. So they're taking a long percent. Okay, 1.33%. Okay, so if I was worth 200,000, what's 1.33% of that, Steve? Because we're comparing her 200 million versus our 200,000. Is that like $300, or is that $3,000? I think it'd be. Okay, here we go.
Okay, we're back. Fantastic. I think we're back. By the way, just an FYI for those of you that are watching The Crucible, there's 30,000 concurrent there watching. Support Andrew Wilson. That's your fans of his. Click that subscribe button and helps him grow his business. If you're watching Candace, I think there's 225 to 250,000 concurrent right now. We'd like to see that 300, 400,000 number on there. Click that button as well to subscribe and share it with your friends and family. And if you're watching it on PBD Podcast, do the same there as well. This allows us to have more conversations like this. The mainstream media hates the fact that we're having these conversations right now. Just so you know, they want to control it. This is free for all. This is what's best for the audience. That's why we like freedom of speech. Having said that, let's go back into
Thank
the
you,
text
Steve, for that math.
conversation we're
Thank
having,
you.
Right?
Okay.
Let's stay there, and then we'll go into the cross-examination stuff in about 30 minutes.
Okay, that sounds fair. Okay, so yeah, I used basically three pillars for the totality of the evidence. Okay, so if you want to know exactly what those three pillars are, this is going to be the testimony with the text messages and the confessions. This is going to be the physical evidence, and this is going to be the totality of the summary of the case. Okay, so right now we're focusing on one of these pillars in my defense, which is fine. I understand that I have to defend my claims as well. So when we're talking about the messages themselves, they seem totally valid. I have no idea why they wouldn't be valid. And I have not heard any good explanation for why it is that these messages should even be questioned. The defense hasn't questioned them, as far as I'm aware. Nobody has actually questioned that these messages came from Robinson to date, except perhaps you and other people who are kind of in that camp. But why should I question these exactly? I'm not sure.
Okay, so first let's just go over legally what the point is of a probative hearing. The defense is not putting on, they're not there to say or to argue or to defend themselves at all. They have to address what is being presented by the state. Okay, so they're not here to then say, let me give you an explanation for these text messages.
Agreed.
The relevant portion of what the defense did do was actually before we got to the preliminary hearing. I had mentioned that it was initially supposed to be scheduled for some time in May. They asked for an extension. That reading through those filings of why they were requesting an extension and why I actually believe their extension should have been granted, because they did not receive discovery on their text messages. That was one of the reasons. There were many reasons why they wanted to have an extension, but this was crucial.
Thank you, Steve.
So forget just the general sense that these messages feel off. And yes, you are allowed to have an intuition. You are allowed to have a sense and just go, this is very weird. We're being told this kid had like above a 4.0, Tyler Robinson. He wanted to get away. I mean, the text messages almost run head to head with themselves. Like he wanted to get away with it. So he thought the best thing to do would be to text a full confession of what he did, down to what I didn't even remember, saying, yeah, and that's also me in the surveillance footage. It felt a little too on the nose. People have common sense. You just don't text message. But then we're also supposed to believe that he put a note under and burn this and get rid of the evidence. But don't worry about that because I'm about to text you a full confession. That it felt off. It felt weird off the bat. The manner in which they were texting, we're told he's like a gamer who's using a Dremel to carve expressions, catch fascist. But then suddenly he's writing like a 1700
Also, as a Helldivers
novelist
player, he did actually get the 500K code correct.
Yeah, I'm not a gamer, so we'll say that if we start debating that, you'll be way over my head.
But yes,
but my point being
yeah.
is just that first, it's a general sense of why people had a reaction to these messages that seemed like they were written by Jane Austen rather than like a kid who games and writes catch.
Yeah, but do you see how
fascist.
that's intuition?
That is, I just said that. I said just parking aside the intuition of just something feels wrong here, which you should follow your intuition. You should actually do that. If you say the COVID vaccine is running out, feels like it's coming out too fast and there's too many celebrities telling me to do it, I'd like to take a pause. That's good. That is, you are allowed to do that. I believe in intuition.
But hang on. Let me respond a little bit here because you've been going for a minute. Let me at least respond to a little bit of this. So the first thing is like when people bring up the COVID vaccine, not trusting the COVID vaccine en masse was the science. That wasn't just intuition. That was the science. There was tons of competing science. Now they try to suppress it. That's true. But there was tons of competing science for why you shouldn't take a risky mRNA vaccine and masks and things like this.
Kept telling us was 100%.
Now, when you're talking about intuition, though, when you say trust your intuition, I'm actually giving a different message. You actually should be very wary about trusting just your intuition. It is true that intuition can be useful, but it has to be tempered with logic, reason, explanatory power, and evidence, not just intuition.
That's why we're parking it aside. Intuition is the first step. Something feels off, right?
Okay.
That was my first step with COVID. I don't like the way it's being pushed. It shouldn't require a celebrity campaign, by the way. Another element of that is why people don't feel good about the Charlie thing. Why do we have so many influencers saying things? It's over. Why are you guys all using the same adjective? Can you switch it up? I'm overwhelmed. Like, chill. Like, you could say, I found some parts compelling. I think this should go. I found some parts compelling. Maybe we should, see at the trial. That would be kind
Don't you
of.
think Fed slop's a buzzword for the counter industry?
But everyone on the same day of watching this trial, which was, I would say, not overwhelming at all. Nobody came in medium, right? No one came in like there were some interesting aspects. This was a little suspect. But I do think it's enough to go to trial. They all came in like they were passing away and we're going to die from being overwhelmed.
Well, they're trusting their intuition.
Okay. Well, actually, in that scenario, they're looking at the preliminary hearing and have a reaction to it. It wasn't their intuition. But like I said, parking aside, just getting to the substance, parking that aside, aside, just a general intuition that sometimes might be second messages. Then we look at the filings, which came from the defense, and they were requesting an extension saying, we have gone to the prosecution and we have requested all of this stuff in discovery. Yes, you are saying that you took Lance's phone, okay, and that you collected his phone on September 11th and that you sent it off or whatever. You took a picture of the text messages and we are being given these text messages to review. Crucially, Kathy Nestor said, I have not even been given access to my client's phone during this hearing. She said, I haven't even been given access to my client's phone. She can't tell you, as a part of their discovery request, is it's not enough to say to me, Candace, I just got a text message from Candace. And I say, I didn't send that text message. Maybe that's what her client's saying. We don't know because we're not at the trial, right? Maybe he didn't send those messages. Could there be someone who logged into his Discord? Could there be someone who logged in to his Apple? George could be sending text messages right now. We are married. He has every login that I have. And remember, he's up for a death sentence. So if I'm able to sow reasonable doubt with common sense, he may come during the trial and when they actually have to address these points, say, I did not write those messages. I was here. Lance, my boyfriend, was logged into my phone, logged into my Apple ID and my iCloud sending messages. I know that we have the capability because my husband does it. He has the capability to send messages from my phone. It is not convincing to the public when, for whatever reason, the FBI combined with the SBI,
Facts, Steve.
it was not the prosecution's
Facts.
fault. They made that clear during that hearing, would not allow them that discovery request to be able to see where did that message come from? Because you're saying my client was here, right? I want to know if that message actually was generated from his iPhone when he was waiting to retrieve his, rifle, hoping that the pooch doesn't have a bad sniffer, like just weird messages. I want to make sure that, yes, it was actually him. He was holding his phone and his boyfriend didn't just log in to his computer when he was home. Lance was his boyfriend. That is a crucial fact here. That discovery was not met by the time I got to preliminary hearing. So I remain unconvinced by these text messages. Just as you feel convinced by them, I feel unconvinced by them.
Okay. So then the idea here is the reason that you don't think that these are valid text messages, and you don't, right?
It has not been proven that these messages are valid and they don't sound valid to me.
Mhm.
I don't think anyone, even if someone was selling like a, I don't know, pot on the corner, would be smarter than to write a full-fledged confession. He even writes, I thought I would get away with it. And I was hoping never to tell you until old age. And then we're being told that he wanted to commit suicide. And okay, but he just said he wanted to get away with it, but he's not smart enough to, I don't know, maybe not text it's such a confession like we've never seen. I think this would be like the first time ever somebody has start to finish written an entire, I'm in this surveillance footage and I'm here and I'm wearing my Converse, I'm being a little facetious here, but it was a little ridiculous. It didn't pass a sniff test for me.
You have kids and
I
you
do.
love them more than anything.
I do.
If it was the case that you thought that your kid was innocent, wouldn't you be out telling everybody and their brother that you thought that they were innocent? And also, wouldn't you maybe recant and say, hey, he didn't actually confess to me. He didn't actually, none of this happened the way that the state is presenting it. What would have prevented the parents from testifying?
Well, two things I can answer that. And if you watch my show, I keep telling you it's not vibes. So right after the shooting happened, Lance Twiggs, the FBI put him into a safe house they paid for. They went to the parents as well, to Matt Robinson and Amber, basically said, your life's at risk. There could be somebody who jumps up and wants to avenge Charlie Kirk. And, we're going to watch you. And they went into a federal safe house. What happened next is that they started thinking that the feds were maybe gonna, maybe not as honest as they thought. And
how do you know any of that?
So you gotta watch the show, right?
Yeah, no. How do you know that?
I had a source within the Robinson family.
You have a source, an anonymous source, of course. So there's no way for us to verify that what you're saying right now is actually even true.
Do you find it to be reliable hearsay?
No, I don't find it to be reliable at all. It's
What's
just
up,
a
Michael?
source.
Good to see you, brother. How are you?
What you're doing
Prosecution
is
did.
a cool story.
It's
You're
not
giving,
cool. Well,
hang
you
on,
must
hang
have
on. You're
hated
giving
watching.
us.
You must have hated
Hang
watching
on.
the
You're giving
preliminary
us.
hearing.
You're giving us a cool,
Okay,
cool
but
story.
wait.
You're saying that according to your sources, that the reason that the parents haven't recanted any of this.
Recanted what? They have no statement from the parents.
Wait, I just want to make sure that if it was the case, it was being reported in mainstream media that your father came to you and said, "Hey, is this you? Is what's going on here?" And then he and one of his buddies took you in where you turned yourself in. You wouldn't go out and be like, "No, that's not what happened."
That isn't what happened, though. You're just wrong on this.
Okay, maybe
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing. What am I wrong
So
on?
what is your? Sorry, just so I'm clear. Where is your evidence that the parents turned him in?
Well, no. I didn't say that.
You said
I
it says the
with
mainstream media?
I said with a sheriff friend.
Yes.
But the father did confront him,
The father confronted what?
Tyler Robinson.
And where did you learn this? That the Tyler
Well, I mean,
confronted
that's part
him?
of the official documents. Our fact checkers can pull that up.
That-
But yes.
But I'm saying, but when you say official documents, do you mean you saw this on CNN or you saw this play out in the hearing?
No, this was one of the things that I went through and fact check pre-debate.
Are you talking about like the charging documents?
I think it was in it could have been in the charging
I
document.
know that's right, Michael.
But we can pull them up.
No.
And yes, are you disputing this?
Do we have that in the back to pull it up? 'Cause
I can
do know-
already tell you what you're talking about, the charging documents, because
Okay,
this
go
is
ahead.
where we had to figure out where this story came from, because everyone was operating under the assumption that Matt Robinson turned him in. Until we got to the preliminary hearing and we understood, like I said, even for that, when you are charging someone, you can use hearsay. It's all probative, right?
Sure.
Nothing. So they didn't have statements. It's not like Matt Robinson, even though he was interviewed that night. Amber Robinson was interviewed that night by a Fed, separate rooms. Tyler Robinson was interviewed by a Fed. They did not produce statements saying, my son did this. I believe my son did this. But what happened was they did interviews, but also the crucial person here who you just brought up is Mike Mitchell. Mike Mitchell is the biggest unknown in this entire case. Everyone keeps saying they heard from Mike Mitchell this, they heard from Mike Mitchell that. So when the person wrote up the report that night, and it was Brian Davis who wrote up what became the charging document, he after they transported Tyler Robinson from the Washington Sheriff's County office up to, I think it's Salt Lake City. I think it was 4 a.m. in the morning that they got up there. He then writes the what becomes a charging document. So he's basically saying, we all spoke to a bunch of people and here's the information that we got, right? We've not seen that. So it could have come from Mike Mitchell. Mike Mitchell could be saying,
I don't know how this negates the point, though.
it
Why wouldn't
truly
the
negates
parents?
the point, because you don't have a statement from the parents.
Yeah,
you are going.
Why wouldn't they just correct the
It's not correcting. That doesn't
misinformation?
negate the point. The point is that we now got the preliminary hearing. If the parents were the ones who said, I'm turning my son in because he's guilty.
I didn't say they turned him in.
I think you're talking about you said it's been the narrative. Everybody's known this. The narrative initially, which I think you agree with, was that, Matt Robinson knew his kid was guilty and turned him into the police station. What actually happened in terms of Sheriff Brooksby, who was present there and gave a press conference, what happened was this Mike Mitchell character essentially peer pressured him. And we can get a fact check on this. We can find Sheriff Brooksby's press conference. And he said, they know it's you and you're going to come in peaceably, or people are going to be banging down your door. He was a undercover cop, which I don't like that. I don't know what he did undercover. It's very hard to find anything about Mike Mitchell, but he worked with them for 20 plus years, the police officers. The reason why Tyler Robinson knew him was because he lived nearby and he was also his Boy Scout
How
leader.
does this negate that the parents could write this second? And by the way, if you had
I'm
the
going to
evidence,
address that point. I'm just saying that your first point, which is that the parents did this.
Yeah.
We don't know that the parents.
I didn't say that they did ever. Never
Well,
happened.
you're quoting the parents as having said, you said that Matt Robinson said that his kid was, you say involved. I don't want to misquote you.
Confronted him about it.
Confronted him.
Yes.
And I'm telling you that we have not seen any evidence that that is true.
We can fact check that.
Okay.
Because we do have evidence.
And I'm saying it's the charging doc, which could have been derived from a statement Mike Mitchell said.
Two things I have already in the back. One
Cool.
is the charging doc, and the other
Yes.
one is the video of Kathy Nestor saying she hasn't seen Tyler's phone.
Okay, we can
Okay,
run
which
Kathy to
one
go
would you
back
wanna
and
see
then
first?
just to
You
go
wanna see
backwards
Kathy
to,
first?
Kathy first in court saying she didn't get her client's phone. Yeah. And then I think we'll go to the, if
A
you're
thing
okay with
not-
that.
A thing not in dispute. These are all things that are not even disputing.
Okay, so we don't
and
have to show it.
We never get to the thing that I am disputing.
Well, I was just providing an answer. We were coming back in from a break because you were talking about the text messages, something that you felt was concrete. So it was just my rebuttal to you that it's not concrete because they haven't had a chance to actually answer that. And she didn't even get to see your client's phone. So that's effectively, again, the state saying these messages are real. you don't get the discovery on these messages just yet. She will during trial. They will actually get
Don't you
discovery on
think
the
that would
messages.
make their case?
I think
fall
that would
apart
be
if it was
very
the case
stupid.
that they weren't able to actually pull the data off the text
I don't
messages.
think they should
The
abandon
prosecution
the
would go to court with
House.
fabricated text messages.
It's called winners and losers. They may not be fabricated, but by the way, as what they are saying, like I said,
No, I
if
don't
there
agree
was
with that.
somebody
I don't
logged
agree
into
with
his phone, they may not be fabricated. That's the point.
So let's get to the
They just
let's
could
get
be
to
somebody
the parents,
else.
the parents fact check. That
Yeah,
was
so
the
I
other
was
one,
saying,
right?
I believe what you're talking about was derived from the charging doc, which was signed off by Brian Davis.
Let's pull it up.
Let's see if that's correct.
But
What are we looking at
Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, I'm sorry.
Can you zoom in a
Is
little
this
bit?
the charging
I
doc?
can't see it. Robinson's
yes.
father reported that when his wife showed him the surveillance image of the suspected shooter in the news, he agreed that it looked like their son. He also believed that the rifle that police suspected the shooter used matched the rifle that was given to his son as a gift. As a result, Robinson's father contacted his son and asked him to send a photo of the rifle, which makes sense with the text messages.
Mm-hmm.
Robinson did not respond. However, Robinson's father spoke on the phone with Robinson. Robinson implied he planned to take his own life. Robinson's parents were able to convince him to meet at their home.
Yes. So this is proving my point. This is from the charging document, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah. So what I'm saying to you is that 3 people got interviewed on that night. Mike Mitchell got interviewed,
Yeah.
Amber Robinson got interviewed, and Matt Robinson got interviewed. Of the 3 of them, only one of them actually wrote a statement, which was referred to in this preliminary trial. He came in, I believe, in March, Mike Mitchell, and he wrote a statement, which I find to be very shady that they
Got
decided
it.
to bring.
But why aren't the parents disputing that?
No. Well, first off,
That's the question
First
I've
off,
been
the
asking.
parents are not going to ever play in court, play to the cameras in court when they have a legal team that is going to be advising them not to speak to the court because your son could go to prison
But they're
forever.
playing to somebody else who's your source.
I'm not going to address that.
They're
'cause
playing to
I don't-
someone
I-
else
I don't
who's your
think- I don't
source,
think
but
it's-
won't go publicly tell the media this is not true.
Well, what I did not say to you that I just said I have a source, so I want to be very clear and take it from somebody who is involved and permanently sued. When I have to take my lawyer's advice, I mean, there's so many things that I want to respond to when people are speaking about.
Yeah, but it's bizarre that they would utilize a source which would get the information to you, but wouldn't just go to the media and be like, actually, that's all wrong.
I am telling you that you would nary find a lawyer who would advise you to go to the media.
Oh,
and speak.
this mother.
Especially when your son is
If I
up for,
thought that my kid
was up for death.
If I thought that my kid was in any way, shape, or form going to be up, you couldn't shut me up. Or my wife, she would be like, "That's not true. That's ridiculous. There's no possible. That never happened. These people are lying through their teeth. They'd be public whether you like it or not."
Yeah, that's for you and your wife. But when a judge issues a gag order in a case and your son is up for death and your lawyers could be advising you that if you say anything, you could blow the case, you would have a more responsible consideration.
I see.
And we're speaking opinion here. You're like, well, I wouldn't care. I'd violate it and I'd violate the judge's orders and see what would happen.
If you have a source, it seems like they're violating it with them.
I'm not speaking to a source, but what I am saying to you is speaking just relevant to what this is. We have not seen any proof that statement that is included in this charging document. I think it is highly likely on the basis of the preliminary hearing that all came from Mike Mitchell, and Mike Mitchell would be a part. He's
based
saying,
on the statements of
it's him saying the parents told me this. The parents could dispute that. That's going to come down the line, right? They're going to be able to seat the parents. I will say this, putting together context clues. If the state had it on, 100% certainty that Matt Robinson and Amber Robinson said it, a 5-day preliminary hearing would be a good time to say we have enough evidence. And I can tell you why Matt Robinson made this statement, and here is his statement that he signed. That would have been a good time to present that evidence.
That would also be a good time for the defense to say that's just totally fabricated.
No, it's not. It's the wrong time.
Why couldn't they?
That is completely the wrong time.
Why couldn't they?
Because what they're doing is they already said they didn't receive discovery. They literally can't. They literally can't because they can't. They did not
You're
receive
saying that
discovery.
they didn't receive that information?
No, they just received the text messages. But in order to
That's not the text messages.
The probative information.
Yeah, we're talking about the information that we just reviewed. That's not the text messages.
They never presented it. The state never put it on.
Yeah, they didn't. The defense could easily still have presented this. Yeah.
No.
They could have said they're
no.
They're not allowed to. Are you sure?
In a preliminary hearing,
yeah,
the defense is engaging with whatever evidence the state decides to put on. They did not put this on as evidence. Brian Davis was up there.
So they're not allowed to present anything?
They're responding to the state's
I'm
evidence.
asking, are they allowed to present anything?
They are allowed to say,
Like if there was a conspiracy that they could prove right then
Mhm.
and there, would they present that in one of these hearings?
no, it wouldn't be the right time for
I
that.
disagree. I think
It's
that
not a
I
disagreement.
think
You're-
that they not only could do it, but they would do it. In fact, when I talked in depth with my attorney, they said that's exactly, if you had actual evidence that there was fabrications by the feds, that's exactly when you would introduce that.
So when in the document that they filed yesterday or a couple of days ago,
Mhm.
the appropriate, like what you're doing at this stage of the hearing is the state is saying we have enough evidence
Yep.
that we think this needs to go forth to trial. Hence the reason that there's this extraordinary, we allow hearsay because it doesn't really need to be perfect. It
Thank
can
you,
be enough
Steve.
that we feel like we can move forward, right? And okay, I disagree with that in general when somebody's rotting in prison, but whatever. The next phase is for them to meet in court and for the defense to essentially present an argument to the state that says, we find this filing to be defective in and of itself. We don't even have to defend ourselves because you, the state, have enough, you know what the laws are on the books, and this filing is defective and you should get rid of these charges because they don't make sense based on what you can decide based on a law on the books. So then that's why they then file the dismissal, right? So in the dismissal, what they're doing is they are engaging, and this is what was widely misinterpreted.
Well, yeah, they're engaging as though as it's a hypothetical. If this is
Yes.
hypothetically
Yes.
true, then
so they're
X.
saying all of
Yeah,
these
but that's
charges.
not, I'm not disputing any of that.
So that's
what I am.
you're asking
What I
why
am,
you're saying could they
no,
just
what
put
I'm
out?
asking specifically is like who could shut parents up who are like, no way, there's no possible. This never happened. This is ridiculous. They would be shouting it on CNN. They would be shouting it from the rooftops. They would be losing their minds. And you're like, nope, the gag order would be enough to keep them quiet. Not enough for them to talk to your source, but enough to keep them quiet. I think that that's quite ridiculous. But I'll even concede this whole point to you. Let's just say maybe this was misconstrued, right? There's a little bit of reason to doubt it because we're still waiting for the evidence for trial. If that's the case, then why not take the same standard for the evidence that you present? You're just waiting for trial.
Well, you didn't do that. That's
Wait
the
a
reason
second.
we're here.
Wait a second. I just want to make sure that I got this right. That's your argument to me, right?
My argument to you is what?
My
Sorry.
your argument to me
Uh-huh.
is that, hey, wait a second, Andrew. There's not enough here that convinces me, right?
Well, that's actually my rebuttal to you is that you are saying, why are people engaging in what you term to be conspiracy?
He's
theories?
winning this argument.
I term it to be
He's
thinking.
winning.
They're
Mhm.
just thinking because they're recognizing there are a lot of holes in these stories and that this is not strong evidence, right? This is the reason they're doing it. I'm explaining to you, this is the reason that they're doing it. I'm addressing what you view to be
Yeah.
overwhelming evidence.
Mhm.
And by the way, I want to be clear,
That which
what
convinces
you're,
me.
what, yeah, well, but thus far,
And this is
every
just like,
point that you
doesn't
brought
convince
up,
you.
every point that you've brought up, did you feel like this is beyond a reasonable doubt? I mean, you realize
remember what I said in my
he's
opening.
going to be
It's not beyond a reasonable doubt.
Mhm.
It's just what I find convincing is what I find overwhelming.
So why are you so upset when people say they don't find it
If
convincing?
that was the limitation of the claims that you made, if it was just, wait a second, there's a little bit of problems. There's some problems in this case that I have questions for that I want answers to. Nobody have a problem, actually. At least of all me. I would be the least likely person to have an issue with it, you, any of your fans, anybody saying. In fact, I've had tons of Discord calls about this. My position's always been clear. Of course, conspiracies exist. Some of them have way better evidence than others, but I've seen them myself. I know conspiracy. In fact, the federal government has hundreds of thousands of laws about conspiracies. They see them everywhere. We both know this, right? That's never what the problem is. The problem is when you make claims outside of, well, wait a second. I'm just questioning evidence here. I'm just questioning what the state's case is here. I'm just asking questions. It's when you make claims outside of that, where you claim that there's good evidence or good standards you should believe because, and then it turns out that it's all nonsense or it's wackadoo stuff or it makes no sense. And when we have a chance to cross-examine your evidence that you've presented, I'm going to show a lot of that. A lot of this conjecture that's based on literally nothing, that leads from no inferences whatsoever. Like you couldn't even infer it logically. That's the problem. The problem has never been whether or not you just said, you know, there's not enough in this case so far until we get to the trial. I remain unconvinced. I'm sure there's tons of people who remain unconvinced yet until we get to the trial. I think that's fine. I think it's fine. There's people who are convinced too. That's never been my problem. My problem is the claims which are external to that.
Okay. I not sure I really care if you have a problem with what I think in my own spare time. I don't understand this like lecture that you just gave. But beyond that, what I'm saying is that
What
if the state
lecture?
is allowed to use,
I didn't
this is
lecture
what
you.
this is what my problem is. You guys are not allowed. Yeah, you guys think while it's still legal, you can. You are allowed to do that. So, but anyway,
Nobody said you can't.
going back to you saying I wouldn't have a problem.
I agree.
I think I just demonstrated pretty thoroughly that what you claim that you have a problem with is exactly what the state is engaged in at this stage. So it just doesn't make sense.
That's not the case. In fact,
So
the
if people
thing
look
is-
and they say,
the thing
I'm
is
looking at the
funny-
gun and I see and I'm inferring this, and someone else says, I'm looking at the gun evidence and I'm inferring that, they're both doing the exact same thing.
They're not.
You're just saying, I want to do it for the state.
That's propositionally false. and
That
I'll
is not
explain- I'll
propositionally
explain
false.
exactly how. It is the case that every proposition is going to have a true or false conclusion, period. That's just logic, right? It's the law of excluded middle. All propositions are going to be true or they're going to be false. When we get into when we're making inferences based on propositions. We can actually come to true conclusions with false premises inside of a proposition. In fact, what we're talking about here is not whether or not you feel that you're convinced by this evidence.
But you felt like you were
Right?
convinced.
Sure. But here's the thing. When you ask me my reason, Andrew, why are you convinced by this? I can give you my reasons why I'm convinced by it, why it seems reasonable and rational to me to be convinced. You could even say, but Andrew, I'm just not convinced by it. If that was the limitation of your claims, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. That's why I wanted to have the conversation, in fact, was so that we could move into your actual claims that you've made, which transcend the idea of I'm just asking questions.
Before we get into that, your team has one thing they want to show before you go into that.
Okay.
So if you want to pull that up, this is the prosecution filing showing defense had full discovery by April 1st.
Oof.
They did not. That's not true.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
To date, the state's prosecutors have disclosed all evidence that is presently and reasonably available to them as required under Rule 16, Utah R Criminal, to be more precise, as of April 1st.
Yeah, that was not 100%. That's why that they're caging that by saying what's reasonable. There was an entire, and we can pull this up. Like, we should now play the Kathy Nestor clip because that's from there. So, and they were basically saying you don't need it at this stage, meaning it's not reasonable that you're asking for this when we're going into a hearing that's just going to be based on hearsay and stuff, things of that nature. But of course, by the time a trial comes, you're going to get all the
Where
discovery
it's just show
documents.
cause.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's what they're saying.
Yeah,
there.
I understand.
Okay. So that's
I'm even fine with
yeah,
it.
that we all know. And then, by the way, just now that the hearing is over, and you can also fact check this, they now at the end of the preliminary hearing dropped like an insane amount of the discovery stuff they gave to them like the week after. You guys can give me the exact amount. I don't want to say because I don't know my I don't remember how much it was. It was an absurd amount of stuff that they gave to them right after the preliminary hearing that they had been asking for. Because that was one of the things that I kept saying on my show is as we were watching that preliminary of the preliminary, why not just give them the stuff now so they can engage in these arguments? Because I feel like it's like, I want to hear what they have to say about the text messages. Why can't you just give them what they're asking for so that they can actually engage you? And it didn't happen. So, but the judge ruled that it wasn't necessary at this stage. And that was the whole point of that
because it's
preliminary to the preliminary. Yeah.
Would you like to play the Kathy video?
Well, he's saying he's not disagreeing, so I don't think we need
There's
to.
no point here.
There's no
Okay.
disagreement
All right,
that she said that.
Yeah.
So so I guess
Yeah.
the
I'd like to
disagreements now
also-
would move into
I,
the evidences that you have stated on the record, which transcend elements of reason.
Why are we
in regards
having
to this
a
case.
transcendental conversation now? Because I mean,
Because they're all related to this
your
case.
entire thing was about looking at the evidence, which never made sense to me, again, because all of the evidence that you felt to be overwhelming was hearsay. That was bizarre to me.
You told me that I could take as much time as I
No,
wanted
you
to
can.
question you on
No,
these
but
things.
I'm just asking you just to lay the groundwork of what you're saying is
Because you've
problematic.
made
That
many,
you
many
decide that it trips
claims.
into
Not yet. They
everything
might get
else,
into it
and
now,
I do
Celeste.
still want to hold you for going through because we discussed the gun, we've discussed your.
And you can hold me to those things, but I would like to get into the
and
things
we
that
should
you've
discuss
said.
the screwdriver as
So,
well.
and I'll explain exactly what the groundwork is.
Mhm.
When you make claims which pass the idea of I'm just asking questions because the state's evidence is not convincing, I think you have to answer for those claims because they are in regards to this case. You're saying, I have a claim. It is in regards to the assassination of Charlie Kirk, which is what we're talking about, not just the case of Charlie Kirk, his assassination. You should have to answer for the claims that you've made in regards to the assassination itself. You should, yeah, agreed. So if that's the case, then I would like to finally dive into some of that evidence and dive into
Well,
it.
just to be clear,
Yeah.
and I'm happy to have you talk about, like I said publicly, you want to engage in some conspiracies, but I said I want to make sure that we get to the substance of our debate. The substance of our
This is
debate
this is the major
is me
substance.
demonstrating that all of the quote unquote evidence that you feel that you have, which demonstrates that Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk.
You don't find convincing. I get it.
It's been invalidated by the testimony that we saw, and in your answer for when I
You haven't
explained to you that he had
invalidated
the
it.
most degraded prints was, I don't know. Okay, well there lies my ability to process that.
It's just fine for you
Okay.
to not be convinced up to this point. All of your viewers, everybody watching, nobody's
just
giving.
you're conceding.
Sounds like she don't
nobody's
want to
gonna
get into it.
dispute That if all your claims ever were just up to now, the evidence that the state's given, I'm just kind of not convinced. That is not what's been happening. What's actually been happening is that you've made tons of claims in regards to this case and in regards to the Kirk assassination, which are far above and beyond, I just doubt, the state's theory.
Okay, yeah, I mean, sure.
those are
I
the
do
things
doubt. I
that
do doubt the state's theory. I also am
I get
welcome
it.
to say what I think. If you want to move into opinions, if you want to talk about Erica Kirk, if you want to talk about
Yeah.
Turning Point USA,
I'd like to talk about all
and
of
get
it.
into it, I'm
Yeah.
totally happy to do that. But I just want to say that, like, I do not feel, because I've said what's important to me is that we exhaust this topic.
She is losing this
first of
debate.
Our actual debate claims.
She does
I
not
do
want to get into
feel
it.
that you sufficiently have argued that the evidence is overwhelming.
Sorry.
What's up, Tyrone?
That Tyler
But I am
Robinson.
sorry you feel that way.
Candace, one question. What
Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, please, and thank you.
That's a great question. So I actually expected in this preliminary hearing, actually, the inverse of what he was saying is true, right? So this is now the time the state is putting on their evidence. That's the purpose of this hearing, right? The state is using hearsay, but they're also putting on their evidence. So I was just expecting some sort of a slam dunk. Like, we got him on camera taking the shot. At least we have him clear on camera. You're telling me this guy drove 13 hours
you doing,
all
Tyrone?
around. Like, we can definitely show you a picture that it's going to be beyond a reasonable doubt before we even get to the trial. People are going to see and go, oh crap, like it was really Tyler
Welcome in,
Robinson.
sir. Welcome in.
I was expecting to at least see evidence that, because I had reported early on that the source was saying that Tyler did not step foot on campus that day. It is my perspective that he had something to do with something. I do believe he was disposing clothes at this stage, at this phase. I do believe he was disposing clothes. He was involved somehow. I find Lance to be more suspicious, if I'm being honest with you. And also, like I said, the use immunity that was given to Lance by the feds, the fact that the feds didn't ask him any questions, the fact that I spoke with Lance Twiggs' family, and they were like, it's very weird that the feds are not asking him more questions. He's exactly the person that I would imagine to be involved in some stuff. Allegedly, I'll say allegedly. But when we got to the preliminary hearing, there was not a single piece of evidence that I felt was slam dunk. I was waiting for that, a photo. I mean, anything would have made me go, all right, I think this could be the guy. If they had handed over the discovery on the text messages, since that was their big ta-da, we've got the text messages, that would be the first thing that I would hand over. But actually, who was holding them up? Like I said, it wasn't the prosecution. They're right to say we were handing things over, and we heard the defense argue on behalf of the prosecution, saying it's not them and it's not the SBI, it's the FBI that's holding on to things. Is the FBI took everything. The FBI took the gun. The FBI took initially the screwdriver. And then when I heard testimony about the things that they found that were suspicious, example being the backpack, that's something that really bothers me, that they say they traced the shooter, they traced the route that he went on, and then there was an we know it looks like he's wearing some sort of a backpack. We know that there was an abandoned backpack found at the bus stop in front of a library, and they felt that this should be taken into evidence. They took it. The FBI, this was the testimony of Amanda Baker, I believe her last name is, but you might want to fact check that because I think I'm blending last names. She was the forensics for the FBI. And then she says she gets a call on the 13th and they stop testing on this backpack because they find that the backpack actually belongs to somebody on Charlie's team. But if you know the map of the layout of the campus, you're going, well, what the hell are they doing all the way up? This is nowhere near anywhere. And by the way, that's not an acceptable answer for why you just gave it back. That's like, why would you give it back? You're acting like no one's ever been killed by somebody on their team before, right? So I found that to be very strange that it was on the exact route that the alleged gunmen ran, and that their excuse was, we just gave it back because we heard that this belonged to somebody on Charlie's team. So that to me is, this is why the investigation itself feels underwhelming. When you learn, and this is completely crazy to me, that some of the artifacts that Charlie was wearing were immediately returned to Erica. That's absurd. That is absurd. Everything should be in evidence. When you learn that the car that they carried Charlie in to go to the hospital, they had immediately towed, cleaned, and back up for resale, that's absurd. That should be sitting in evidence. And any police officer that you speak to will
That's
say,
a good point
or
she's
person
making.
that's been
She's
involved
making
in
a good
crime will
point.
say, I didn't get my stuff back for years. It had nothing to do with anything. It was just around. And they kept it into evidence until the trial was over, and it has to be approved. I think somebody said by the attorney general has to sign off on giving you those objects back. And we were told this is all fine. And we see, this is just one example, Erica holding the crucifix. That should be in evidence, irrespective of if you feel bad for her and think she should have it and it's sweet.
I agree with that.
That should be in evidence. Immediately paving over the crime scene. Is this like the craziest thing ever?
Very true, Tyrone. I was saying that earlier before you came in,
and when
my
you
brother.
heard the guy who did it actually go up on a podcast and explain, I got the call. They said it was a paver emergency. I've never in my entire career heard of a paver emergency. They had already had someone come up and dig up the dirt. So by the time he got there on Sunday, the dirt had already been dug up for him to lay down pavers. That is what people are looking at and going, this is weird. There needs to be answers for why this was done. And he tells us the call came from the feds and the governor's office.
I agree with her on this.
Wash their hands of it. And what he's saying sounds true, because we heard during the testimony, one person described the regions of who was in control of everything. The feds were in control of the courtyard. So in order for anybody to have paved anything, that was federal territory, so to speak. I'm maybe not using that in the best cop term, but the feds were in control of the courtyard. So these are things that I think should be answered for. Why are we doing things differently than you would in any other criminal scenario of keeping the evidence until we know more, until we're confident? The various decoys. I did it. It just doesn't look right.
Fair,
Okay,
Tyrone.
so go back to the
Fair,
question.
sir.
So
Fair.
What would you need to see for you to say?
I want to hear his rebuttal to
I'm
this.
suspecting, here we have him. He took the shot.
point,
Here it
Tyrone.
is. And then I'd be like, great. A clear image of him on the staircase where I'm like, that's definitively Tyler Robinson, and he was on campus. We got nothing. We got literally nothing but hearsay of people saying.
But you basically get no case.
What?
You basically no case on planet Earth. You get the oh, we got a picture.
Okay,
Here's him with the murder weapon.
Right.
Here's him taking the
But
shot.
Most of this doesn't take place on a college campus that has surveillance everywhere.
Yeah,
One clear image of his.
But I don't understand when you're
his
asked
car plates.
If you're asked
like,
the question, what would it take to convince? It'd be the same question be asked to me, Andrew. What would it take to convince you that the oppositional is true, right? That he's a patsy or something like that. Just good, clear, concise evidence that's been presented, right? And is being presented that I could go through and link all together to see if there's actually some clear picture of there being a patsy. That's what it would take for me.
Okay.
Just
I don't disagree with that. We haven't heard the defense
just
respond.
a good evidentiary standard. And then, of course, I would change my mind.
So just to qualify this, so there is a possibility in the next few months that you may come out and say, guys, it's done. Tyler killed him.
Yeah.
So you're saying yes to that.
Yeah.
I think it's very important for the audience here to from
Without
you.
question.
For you, is there anything that you could see for you to say, yeah, this guy was a patsy?
Of
the government
course,
was
I'm going to always follow evidence.
Perfect.
So my whole thing is just this. It's really important to me. I don't mind people being truth seekers and justice searchers, and the internet has helped solve tons of crimes. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, right? However, there's also people who, they not only don't solve crimes, but they just come up with conjecture, and what's called flooding the zone. You flood the zone with tons and tons of conspiracy-based ideas, and they go nowhere, right? And in fact, they actually take away from legitimate investigation. Now, I'm not even saying anybody here is purposely flooding the zone. That's not even the claim. All I'm saying is that the claims made absent, this is just me not being convinced by the state's evidence. Those become claims.
Facts,
claims have to be defended. Just like mine have to be defended, yours have to be defended. And that's what we're going to get to now, yeah?
You want to get into it? Would you guys like to take an ad break?
We'll take an ad break.
An ad break, sure.
And then we'll talk Erica Kirk and TPUSA.
And the conspiracies that have been conjectured by Candace Owens in regards to this case and the Charlie Kirk
Perfect.
assassination.
Folks, we'll take a 3.5 minute break and we'll be back.
Wow. I love that. Like him being part of this group of effort to attack her. So I'm gonna give you my thing on this, Tyrone. I think right now he's winning. I think you made a good point right here, my brother. You said he has good tactics but no good points. I disagree with that slightly. I think he's got some good points, and he has great tactics and not so good points, but some decent points. She has great points. I think her points are not that great, and I don't think her tactics are terrible. I think her tactics are better than terrible. But I agree with your premise, though. And Christians are mad at the Muslims for building the mosque on top of Christ's birthplace. They have been knuckles deep with Israel since the 1950s. Yeah. So if I had to score this out of 100, I would say he is winning 65 to 35. 65%, 35% she's got. That's what I would give it. And again, I am not a I like both of them. I don't think Candace Owens is an evil person. I don't think Candace Owens is a conspiracy theorist. She's really rusty. Yeah, Tyrone, that's a fair point. And she's 7 months pregnant. But also, too, he's this is her home turf. They're at her house. All the rules have been bent to her. Again, she's the bigger personality, of course. And she got paid $300,000 cash. And Andrew Wilson, he's a great debater. That's what he does. And Candace Owens is as well, but that's not her number one thing. She's a great debater, but she's great at other things too. Andrew Wilson is a great debater. That's what his thing is. He's not the greatest podcaster. She's a great podcaster. He's a good podcaster. I'd say he has slight lead. Okay, cool. No problem. See, Tyrone, on my channel, man, you come at it however you want, brother. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, please and thank you. If you haven't already, I make videos every single day. And, I try to look for the truth, man. I'm on the side of truth. That's it. And it starts with common sense. Common sense is the cousin of truth. We try not to be biased. I am God Family Country. I am. And I was a big Charlie Kirk fan. I still am, as you can see with my shirt here. God Family Country, in that order. And, it's a shame what happened to that man. It is an absolute crying shame what happened to a great man like that. Do I believe everything? I don't know, man. In the beginning, I had a lot of questions, man, about TPUSA and what they're doing. Do I think they're an evil organization? That yet remains to be seen. But I was with Candace Owens the first 2 or 3 months she was doing this. But then I got out of that stuff because we got a country to save. And I was thinking about the country. And now, every once in a while, I tend to get back into it. My daughter really loves Candace Owens. She believes everything Candace Owens says. And I said, well, you can't put all your eggs in one basket with her, because my daughter tends to see the world through the lens of Candace Owens. And I'm like, honey, you can't do that. You know what I mean? I don't know who won. I didn't really have an opinion, but I scrutinized it all. Okay, well, this next part is going to get pretty good, Steve. So let's pay attention to that. She makes some good points, but now she can outright state that Erica. But how can she outright state that Erica and TPUSA is responsible for murder and then not even address those statements? She is a great clickbaiter for the algorithms. Okay, fair. I sent that picture of Boney Tyler versus Muscle Tyler, not the same person. I seen that picture of Boney Tyler versus yeah. Now let me tell you where I stand. Do I believe that Tyler Robinson got on the roof and shot Charlie Kirk? Let me tell you where I stand. I don't believe that. I'm 95% convinced that didn't happen. There's a 5% that I am, because, there is video of some dude on the roof and all this other stuff. Again, I don't know if that's real, but at 30-06, it could have happened. I'm not a gun expert, but from the videos that I watched, it just doesn't look like that. But then Andrew Wilson made a good point about the bullet, the little small bullet. So again, I look for the truth, man. I look for the truth. Me too. Yeah. I'm not convinced of anything because I wasn't there. Right. So a lot of people get what they do is they get stuck on a talking point, or they get stuck on what they believe as human beings. We do that. And then we just get stuck on it. I'm always open and adaptable. I always change based on the evidence and what I see. And I'm liking what Andrew Wilson's saying. You know what I mean? Again, do I believe in our government? No, I think our government's crooked. I don't trust them. I don't trust the 3-letter agencies. And I don't like what's going on here. But for me to say that this happened, this would have had to be ran through by Trump. They would have had to run this by Trump, I believe. And I just don't believe Trump would have had Charlie Kirk killed. I don't believe that. And if that happens, and I find out that happened, I would be very, very, very upset with Donald Trump, man. Word. Thank you, Tyrone. I don't think he could have done it alone. Yeah, I don't either. I think it could have been an outside thing. Do I think Candace Owens is an evil person and she's doing this to make a bunch of money? No, I do not. I don't like the fact. Now, here's what I don't like. I don't like the fact that she's making, and part of me, I'd say 70% of me doesn't like this, but 30% understands because I'm a capitalist. I don't like the fact that she's monetizing off her friend's death. I don't, but I understand it. Me personally, I wouldn't do it. Okay. If I made videos about my friend dying and being assassinated, and I made videos every day, I would do it as a side project. I would still do my regular job, but I wouldn't dedicate my whole life and my income on it because she's made a lot of money off this. And I don't agree with that. That's just me personally. I think the text chatter amongst some of the students there is more telling than anything, but it proves nothing. But somebody knew something there as a student. Yeah. And again, there's a market for stuff. You know, I don't like to use the word conspiracy theories because we know that was made up in 1968. You know, the mass media and the powers that be, the apparatus, made that up after they killed John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy was assassinated. Lee Harvey Oswald did not do that. Okay. And I can't get crazy because, again, you know, this platform doesn't like when I say tell the truth. So, Spaceman, what's good, my brother? What's going on, big dog? Not much, man. How are you, man? Good to see you. Hey, somebody just subscribed. Thank you so much. Is that Tyrone? If that was you, Tyrone, thank you, brother. I appreciate that. I agree, Jerry. Yeah. And again, I'm a human being, man. I get shit wrong all the fucking time. You know what I mean? But I can admit when I'm wrong. You know what I mean? So, you know, I definitely don't think Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk on that roof. I don't think so. You know what I mean? Andrew Wilson does. So that doesn't mean I'm on Candace Owens' side, though, right? I believe Candace Owens may be caught in an echo chamber of her own thoughts of what she feels. And I think what happens is when you, as a human being, we have biases, and we look for, you know, the confirmation bias, right? We look for things that confirm our biases instead of looking for the truth. And that is hard to get away from. As a human being, that is so freaking hard to get away from confirmation bias. I do it all the time. You know what I'm saying? Because again, I'm not a Republican, but I'm against the Democrat Party and I'm for America. So I hate the Democrat Party as they stand. I don't hate the people. I just don't like what they talk about. Not me, bro. Already been subscribed. I appreciate that, Tyrone. Thank you, man. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Whoever subscribed, thank you so much. And make sure you guys turn on the bell too, man, because let's just say certain platforms don't put my stuff out because certain platforms don't like common sense, you know. And again, I ain't the smartest guy in the room here. Okay, I've never claimed to be, but in order for us to defeat this bullshit that's going on, you know, we got to figure out what's going on here with the truth. Just my opinion, but I believe Candace had more feelings for Charlie Kirk than she probably should have had, and his death has kind of pushed her over the edge. Okay, fair. I thought that for a second too. I haven't seen any actual evidence of that. I actually truly believe they were platonic friends. You know what I mean? Charlie Kirk was the type of dude that he didn't like sleep around with women. I believe Erica was his first, if I'm not mistaken. But he did have a porn addiction for a little bit, Charlie. But he's an absolute nightmare, man, when it comes to debates. He used to kill these lefties. Same playbook as JFK. Could be, Tyrone. Could be, bro. I think they try to do the same thing to Trump in 2024 because CNN, a.k.a. the Clown News Network, the Crime News Network, the Communist News Network, the Chinese News Network, they broadcasted his speech that day in Pennsylvania live, and they never do that. I believe they wanted to JFK Trump, and when they couldn't, they may have taken Charlie Kirk as a consolation prize. I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised with that if that was true, Tyrone. I am not disagreeing with you on that, my boy. But we'll see what happens. I'm working hard out here, man. If you guys like what if you guys liking what I'm putting down, I've been here over 2 hours. I'm still here with you guys. Go ahead, give some love to the channel, however you want to do it. Like it, share it, super sticker, super chat, whatever you want to do. Whatever you can afford to do. Because you're giving me the most precious asset is your time, and I appreciate that very much. If I get killed, I hope my Candy, my friend, get killed. I hope Candy, my friend. Nah, I don't speak that, bro. You ain't going nowhere no time soon, brother. I am Team Charlie, totally a loss for humanity, man. And what the left did after he passed and how they celebrated, again, man, I can't stand the Democrat machine. I can't not stand these people. I dislike these people. I don't hate anybody. I'm a Christian, but I hate what they stand for. I don't hate not one human being because every human being is flawed and we can get them to our side. But some of these people are zombies, guys. They're just not going to come back. It's just the way it is. You know what I mean? I did not expect to be doing a live stream for 2 hours and 20 minutes, but we're here. Yeah, sad times. It is, bro. It is, Tyrone. I really appreciate you guys being here. We got 7 here on YouTube. We're also on Rumble as well. It says we have 4 on Rumble. Sound off in the chat, man, if you're in Rumble. Please and thank you. And then X, it says 100 and something, but you know how X is. They just give impressions sometimes. They're not really here, so. We're here to mine for truth, man. Me too, Jerry. Yeah. Yep. But yeah, these breaks have been very long in between. I think it's a lot to do with Candace, but Candace has been on the defensive in this debate. But I think we're going to get into the nitty gritty now because Andrew Wilson is the type of person. He ain't a nice guy, and he gets in your face, and he's trying to get into it. It seems like she's on the defense and he's on the offense. Just saying, man. If somebody is right. And again, I don't know who's right or not, but the person that's usually right is the person that's on the offense, and she's on the defense right now. So I don't know, man. Again, I don't think. Again, I'm going to say this because when you're listening to me, some of you going to say, "Oh man, you're on Andrew Wilson's side," or "Oh man, you're on Candace's side." I'm on the side of truth, man. Straight up, you know what I mean. And I'm on the truth of facts. I really up my generosity game. I try to help others.
Okay, so we're officially back. Andrew, before we go into the other issues you want to talk about, is it fair to say you're good defending your position of the overwhelming evidence?
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. You take the lead. Go for it.
Yeah, so I have a bunch of questions for you, and I want to make it super painless, right? So no traps, no gotchas. I'm just going to ask them direct.
This is going to be good, guys.
As long as they're not loaded, if they're loaded, you should not respond yes or no. But as long as they're not loaded, if I just directly ask them, I'm hoping that you'll just give me a direct answer. So here's the questions that I have.
Wait, before we get into that, I would like to just reply to that. So just to be clear, we agreed to debate our claims, and then I agreed publicly that I have no issues having a conversation with you.
Here we go.
Other things that I've discussed that were outside of the court hearing and things like other evidence that's come across our lap and things that we've been speaking about. But I just do want to make it clear to viewers that for whatever reason, you think that you have a right to sort of depose me.
I'm not deposing you. I just want to ask you some questions.
You literally said that I want to be able to question you.
What is she doing here?
Meta conversation.
Right.
What is she doing?
Okay, so now we're transcending. Like let's use a word to use a word that you're saying. But this is what you're doing, right?
Okay.
So this part to me feels like a bit of
am I allowed to ask the questions?
I've already said you can ask questions, but I made it very clear to you via email and with you in conversation that we should be speaking. This
Yeah, I
isn't
know,
like
but
you
I
get to
wanna-
sit.
I wanna ask
said
you
if you
some
want to
questions.
depose me, you should join
I'm not
Brigitte
deposing
Macron's
you.
AKA, don't
defense
ask me any
team.
This
You
is
can
a
ask questions.
legitimate
Can you
Don't ask me
answer it?
questions.
Blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's like, I
Damn,
don't know
Candace,
what
you're
you're
looking
going
bad
to ask.
right
I'm
now.
going to
And
answer
if
as
you
I
have
see
issues
fit
with it,
because I'm not.
I get it.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
get it.
Just
If-
so we're clear.
Usually in the debate, if something's not loaded, I'm just direct with
Because
the
you kept
question,
saying
with
I'm
the
Joe
answer.
Rogan. They have no evidence. They have no evidence. And now
Mhm.
you're like, let's move away from the evidence.
You
Just talk about
actually,
transcendentals.
yeah, okay. Anyway, so direct question, super
look.
easy. Was
Bad
Lance
look.
Twiggs DNA in the rifle, as far as you know?
We can't say that for certainty.
As far as you know.
I already answered that in the first part. We can't say that for certainty. I told you the context of which they spoke about those things.
So
was-
no, as far as you know.
we can't say that for certainty until we know what other the 5 sets of prints were on.
So that
there.
would be no, as far as you know.
We can't say that for certainty.
You can say no, as far as I know, for certain.
We can't say that for certainty. I actually,
You can
I'm
say
just so
that
you
for
know,
certainty.
if your energy here is going to be like you're my dad and you can tell me how to speak or what I'm supposed to say, you're just going to come up against the wall. I'm
Okay,
familiar with this
but-
debate strategy.
but I
like,
am just
yes or no,
telling
yes or no,
you.
yes or no. We're not debating anymore. We're having a conversation. So I already addressed that in the first half of this about why.
No, we're still
there's-
definitely debating. This is still
no, it's not a debate.
this is
Now
inclined
this
to
is you
your-
saying I want to probe
Yeah.
things that sit outside of the evidence. I actually already
That you've
addressed this.
stated.
You asked me.
Uh-huh.
You're not going to go like where you're
Okay.
sitting and I'm on trial. I'm not on trial.
Okay, great.
So
let's
you
talk
can
about
have a
the
conversation
let's
as
talk
we've
about the
agreed
French.
to.
Let's talk about the foreign.
She is
Legion.
so
Sure.
Was
defensive.
the Foreign
Man.
Legion, do you believe, trying to kill you?
Yes, that's why I reported it to the correct officials in government. That's what I was told, and I handed over that information to Tulsi Gabbard's office.
What's your best piece of evidence for that?
Well, it was
Positive evidence.
It was told to me
Mhm.
by somebody who is high up in the French government. I passed off that information to Tulsi Gabbard's office. I also passed it off to Trump's office, Donald Trump's office.
Mhm.
And that's all I can tell you. I wouldn't be able to probe any evidence because I don't have the power to do that. I'm not the federal government. And I would also like to say that this becomes this other piece of what you do, which is when people say, this, I was told this, and this is the evidence that I have, and I'm willing to have that conversation and write the email to the correct government body that deals with this. Like, I can't hack into Emmanuel Macron's bank accounts and say whether or not the
I
information
agree.
but then you go, well, where's your evidence? It's like, well, my evidence is that I reported it. I did the right thing that you're going to do. So if somebody calls and says, hey, Andrew, there's a viable death threat against you, and that person definitively has the rank to be able to tell you this, and you say, well, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to report that to the feds. Then I go, what's your evidence? It's like, well, I got the information and I gave the information that I got from who I got it to the right body of people. And that's
Okay.
what I did.
Got it. I just want
Cool.
to make sure.
And so
I'm not
it-
trying to trap you.
Well,
I just want to make sure I got it clear.
and that's why I said I want to know what you're doing now, because this has always been the thing. It's like, we actually can't win on the overwhelming claim. So we're just going to go and bring up everything that I think can try to embarrass her. I reported
I'm
exactly
not
as I
trying to
received
embarrass
it.
you. I just want to make sure that I get. your
Yeah.
Damn,
position
Candace,
clear.
let him
not
talk.
said-
Let him
yeah,
talk,
yeah,
Candace.
Go ahead.
And now you have stated multiple times that you believe that Israel's involved in the death of Charlie Kirk.
Can you give
Yes,
me?
we can pull up the clip.
Can
I'm sorry. I'm just saying.
I finish the sentence?
Go ahead.
Can you give me the context for what are you talking about? Like when I say, generally speaking, why people think that Israel's involved?
Mhm.
Okay. Where's your question?
Yeah. Do you have any positive evidence whatsoever that Israel killed Charlie Kirk?
Well, I couldn't say Israel was on the ground and shot and killed Charlie Kirk. I would say that there are various things that we're trying to establish, one being a motive. And since I don't believe that Tyler Robinson and his transferee is a convincing motive because he was fired up about politics, which Lance testified that he never spoke about with him, nor do I believe that he was, so into LGBTQ issues, since Lance testified they never spoke about LGBTQ issues, that he stopped and ate at Chick-fil-A, which if you are into LGBTQ issues, wouldn't be your lunch before you go kill Charlie Kirk for LGBTQ issues, because,
Yeah, but do you have positive evidence?
I'm answering the question as I feel like I want to answer it. Like I said, you don't get to for an hour and a half.
But the question I'm asking is
me.
about positive
I'm
evidence.
telling you that in any case, establishing a motive and and again, I already explained
Andrew's
at the top
winning
of the
this debate,
show,
guys. I'm
but
sorry.
the reason why people find Israel to be an interesting question is because truthfully, Charlie's perspectives were changing on Israel.
Sure.
And he was starting to realize how much pressure was being put on not just our government to constantly fight their wars, but also being put on his organization personally. If people had come out and been honest about that, rather than rabid claiming he never flinched and everybody's lying and this is not true, you would probably have people that just go, That's life. People change their opinions.
I understand.
And then there was the rabid. I mean, not even that. It's like everything was about
Man,
trying
she
to convince
is
the public how much he
talking.
liked.
So then,
loved
other
Israel.
than intuition, how you feel about things, do you have any evidence Israel was involved in killing Charlie Kirk?
I have already said, and if you're watching my show and the context of what I said, this is the general sense of why people think Israel's involved. Nobody has made the claim that Israelis. There were also, obviously
Ian
Joe
Carroll
Kent.
made the claim.
Well, Joe Kent, who I think would have the right to assert it, noted that there were 12 Israeli cell phones on the ground that day. I think most people would like to probe that. Now, it could be maybe they were students,
Okay.
and they were Israeli.
There's some
students from
evidence.
Utah
There's
that
some
day.
evidence.
But we'd like to probe that narrative because what we've seen after coming from the Israeli government, the Israeli prime minister, kind of denying that he did it, which wasn't really necessary, was quite busy. The phone call that happened, which no one wants to discuss in the Hamptons the week prior, or not the week prior, I think
There's
it
more
was
evidence.
around August 5th or 6th that took place.
Mhm.
And again, the almost desperate lies about Charlie shifting opinion on Israel lead us to believe that there could be an Israeli angle in this. But we cannot say for certainty that Israel called the shots and this is how it happened. But it is definitively, I think, a thread that a lot of us would like
Do
to
you
lot
say
better,
there's no
Candace.
positive evidence?
whatever you want to say, however positive, negative, however you want to say it.
Well,
I
like
don't
positive
need to, I
evidence
can just
would
have
be
a conversation.
material evidence and other evidences, which would
what
point
we've
you
said
to it.
is on our show is what we said, which is this feels like a conspiracy building. There's no reason to lie about these things, and yet people are lying. BB ain't acting right. The Hamptons thing was weird, and the way they tried to shove the Israel narrative down our
That's not
throat
true, Celeste.
immediately. I mean, the day he died,
was
posting
changing a little
picture
bit.
of him with an American and Israeli AI'd photo on the president's feed doesn't feel right.
Do you have
So
any evidence that Erica Kirk or TPUSA participated in the murder of Charlie Kirk?
I've never said they participated in the murder of Charlie Kirk. So how could I say that I have evidence they participated in the murder of Charlie Kirk?
Okay. So then you don't believe that they did.
I never have said that statement. So I'm not going to get you to ask me personal questions about things that I've never said on record.
Okay, fair.
Your team is sending messages in the back saying they have a video they want to play.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't know what the video is.
Celeste, he did change his opinion on Israel, not his religion, though. He did start changing his opinion on
there's
Israel.
a video you want to play that
Tyler named Spike
Candace said she
Israel.
has full confidence Israel was involved.
Yep.
Yeah. He said evidence that they killed him. I said this
ahead
is
and
why
play it,
people think
though.
their involvement.
So she
If
can
they have the clip,
Yeah,
they
if they
can
got
play
the
the
clip.
clip.
Yeah.
They're referring to a clip.
Yeah. Via who? My guess is Pierre. Erica. I think that there's a reason Pierre knew that Charlie was dead first. I think there's a reason he was a priority. How? Why? I think France and Israel are involved in Charlie Kirk's assassination. And I'm going to put that out there with full confidence.
Okay.
I also involvement.
I understand.
Yeah.
So you
That's-
think you with full confidence you think that
Yeah, I think
that
Israel's
France
involved.
and Israel.
Yeah, I mean, the person that gave me that thing that I reported said that French Foreign Legion were on the ground that day.
Mhm.
Again, this would be at a professional limitation for me to then go and probe that information that I handed over. I can't do that. I'm not
But
the
you
United
don't have
States
any
government.
positive evidence of
Okay,
that.
okay.
Right?
Liz, can you just stop? It's actually just like annoying to hear you keep saying positive evidence. I've just asked me what I think. and
Why is that annoying?
Yes, I think
Well,
they are
that's
involved.
a claim.
No, I said here's what I think.
I have every
I
right
think-
to ask you about your claim.
Yeah, but
and if there's
I said,
positive
I-
evidence
in
for
this
your
statement,
claim.
I literally just said, I think, and I am allowed to think. And
Yeah,
you
you're
keep
allowed to
saying, do
think,
you have
but you're making
positive
a
evidence?
claim.
I have tons of positive evidence that I'm allowed to think. Yes.
I agree. You're allowed to think.
Okay. So
Nobody's disputing whether or not
yeah, but
Candace
like
Owens is
you're-
allowed to
you're-
think. What
you're-
I'm asking is
but
if you have
what's your issue then?
positive
What is your issue with the statement?
evidence.
Very true,
I
Celeste.
think
That's true.
That Israel is involved.
That's
I
not
do.
what. That's not just what you said. You said
I did
that
say I
it's with
think.
it's with full confidence.
Yes.
You would think that if you had full
Can you have confidence
confidence,
to think when you think?
if I said, for instance, I think I'm going to be late to work, right, with full confidence, I would say my evidence for that is that I'm 20 minutes away and I need to be there in 5.
Andrew,
That's how you would know whether or not you had full
I'm just gonna
confidence.
tell you something.
Hang on, let me finish.
Sure.
If it was the case that I said I have full
She
confidence,
is
I'm going to
so
be late to work,
defensive, man.
I would say my evidence that I'm going to be is that work is 20 minutes away, right? And I have to be there in 5. So I have full confidence. That's why I would think that. So I'm asking if you think that Israel and France were involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and you say with full confidence, I'm just asking for the evidence, or at least walk me through the mindset of why it is that you could think that with
I
evidence.
actually don't have to walk you through why I think. I can give you something that I think.
I don't
with full
have to do
confidence.
that.
I think with
I
full
don't have
confidence
to
that
do
you
that.
know you lost the substance of this debate, and now you're moving toward things that I have said that I think, which I can do. I'm
They're
allowed to think
pertinent to
that.
this debate.
It's not exactly pertinent to this
It's
debate.
100% pertinent.
It's not pertinent because
You're in a
These are claims
debate, Candace.
made
Answer the fucking
about
question.
Charlie Kirk's
If you're
assassination.
right,
That's the complete
damn.
substance of the debate.
No, actually, would you like to remind him of what our debate claims actually were?
And would you like to remind you said I could ask you about any of these things
I
to my
said
heart's
feel
content?
free, but you do not get to structure how I'm allowed to reply or
That's
ask
not-
me
that's
why
not
are
what
you
we're
allowed
agreeing
to
on.
think.
You can ask me certain questions.
I have full confidence that you do not feel that you represented your claim well. And so now what you came
That's
prepared
nice.
to
I just
do is
wanna
to
know-
present yourself like a professor of
I
fallacies.
just want to know.
And to say, you're not allowed to say that. You can't. It's
You
my
can say
podcast.
whatever you want.
Well,
Nobody's
I said
disputing that. I'm
It
asking.
seems like you are disputing
I'm
it.
asking
I think that
specifically
when this
why
is
you
all
think
said
that.
and done, I've already explained to you. I explained at the beginning of this
Mhm.
why I think Israel is ultimately going
France.
to be proven to have involvement in this.
Mhm.
I just explained to you in the middle, and now you're wanting me to structure the sentence or provide evidence. You don't have to. You're just allowed to think. And I've explained to you my thought process. I don't need to structure it in a sentence. If you feel like a professor today, you picked the wrong day.
Don't you think that like tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people would want to know what Candace Owens' positive evidence for why it is
No, I
that
don't-
Israel and France were involved
Wow.
in the most traumatic public assassination of Gen Z's lifetime is?
That's why they watch my podcast.
So you're just going to drip? to
Everybody doesn't
them?
watch your
Like, here's
podcast,
why I
Candace.
think that?
Every time we come across any of these discussions,
Everybody doesn't
they're
watch it,
watching
bro.
this in context, and they know why I'm saying it. So, for example, when you're bringing up, well, Candace, where's your evidence for France doing this? I just told you someone who is high ranking in the French government, right?
Who's nameless?
Of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course.
But
So there's good reason
so
to
it's not a
doubt this.
conspiracy, though, if I then took it to the federal government. Like, you can't just go out there making a claim to the federal government. You get in trouble for making false statements and things of that nature. So, and then you go, well, I'm going to probe that. Well, how can you probe that? This happened
I
to
can
me.
ask you, well,
This
that's
is
not
my
what I'm probing
podcast.
specifically.
This is my podcast. I am sharing my life and my experiences and what has happened to me.
Right, but
And
everybody
you're
doesn't watch
basically
your
coming in
podcast,
like you're
Candace.
gonna regulate how I'm allowed to say
Nope,
it. If
I'm
I'm,
not
allowed
trying to
to
regulate
say it.
anything. I'm asking
Well,
very
you're
pertinent
sounding a bit
questions.
like a professor trying to regulate and say, Candace,
You sound
you
very
can't say, I
defensive
think.
and like you just don't want to answer questions.
I did
Ding,
answer your
ding,
question
ding,
three
ding,
times. I just
Literally,
didn't say it in the way that you wanted me
you
to
just kind
say
of
it.
obfuscate and you run away from it. But I would like for you to
let's
actually
just go through
focus
every
on it.
clip that you guys have prepared, because it's pretty. I think with full confidence, people will recognize the strategy that you're trying to employ.
No, I
So
don't.
let's get to the next.
Just
clip
asking
you
the
have prepared.
evidence.
Sure.
I don't
They can
recognize
pull up
that.
whatever
Yeah,
clips they
whatever
want,
it is
yeah.
that you guys have prepared. So let's go.
But I would still, on this point, I just want to make sure that you have full confidence that France and Israel were involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
I think in
and
the
you
end,
have no evidence for it at all that you'll give us.
well, I already did tell you where it came from. Like I said, I can explain it to you. I can't understand
Did
it
that
for
same
you. So if
higher
you
up
need to,
tell you
if you
that
need
he was
to-
going to kill, or that France killed Charlie Kirk, or just that you were in danger?
They said that the French Foreign Legion was involved and on the ground that day. I've already said that. You just don't like hearing it.
No,
Candace, just out of curiosity,
Yes.
when you pass down that message to a Tulsi or Trump,
Tulsi's office, yes.
Tulsi's office, are you giving them who told you that, or you're just saying, here's what I heard from
And
somebody?
I have this information.
Sure.
And of course, if they wanted to open a file on it, which I thought was quite mysterious, that Trump's office never got back to us. It was kind of weird about maybe they're not the correct office too. I did receive a response from Tulsi Gabbard's office, but I don't think there was ever any investigation into what I
Got
said.
it. So the call was, hey, I've been
Emailed.
told
It's-
the email.
Yes.
Email was, I've been told
I have
somebody is-
information, that the French Foreign Legion was on the ground during Charlie's assassination, and that, I mean, it was a lot of information, but
well,
like
you didn't give specifics who it was from.
not in the first email, because I figured they would
Perfect.
yeah,
So if they do contact you,
100.
are you
yes,
comfortable giving 100% who it is?
I would absolutely give them as
And-
much
and
information
can I
as
ask a
possible.
question? If whoever's the U.S. government, why are you not?
Yes, it's very strange to me.
You know, so if that's the case, now they may respond back and say, we did, that's their position.
I did.
I'm
That's
not
why I
involved.
did it in writing.
And so I'm glad that's the case,
Yes.
because So if they
And
do
right
ask
away in
you,
Trump's
is
office,
so
is like
defensive,
Margot got right
man.
back to me. She said it was on his desk, so he has that. There's no.
and if you
It's like she
do
keeps
say
cutting
that
people
and
off.
they contact that individual, obviously you don't have to leak your sources here.
Mhm.
Is there enough credibility where that person would be willing to talk to them and explain to them exactly what their sources
Yes,
are? Okay. I mean, that's,
it seems reasonable. And so why he's asking me to defend that is like
I'm not. Never
Okay.
I
did.
think those are two different things. That's more
Two
something I would
totally
ask them to
different
say,
claims.
why are they
I
not
disagree
reaching
with
out
that,
to you?
Steve. I disagree
I've
with that.
asked that many times on my podcast.
What do you think about that, Andrew?
What?
The fact that she emailed, she gave it,
Mhm.
and nobody reached out to want to contact the
They
source that she's
probably
willing
didn't think
to
it was
share.
actionable, is my
Jay
guess.
Remmer, what's
But even
good?
if they did think it was actionable, great. Every lead should be followed up on within the confines of what's
Don't
rational.
forget to like and
reasonable.
subscribe,
Is it fair
everyone.
to say that this is maybe a different individual because this
Thank
is
you,
a
Jay
person
Remmer.
that was involved with TPUSA
Well, we
and
don't
had a
know-
relationship
Wait,
with Charlie?
who?
No, her relationship. Like
Yeah.
this isn't just anybody. So if an average person sends it, yes.
Yeah, but I mean, we don't know who the source is. We don't know any
Well,
of
then
this.
if you were in that department, wouldn't you want to, even you assign it to one of your
There's
guys
no
to
guarantee
say,
they didn't look into it. How do we know? We don't
How
know.
could they
No,
if they
how
didn't
could they
come
if
get
she didn't give it
the
to them?
information, more of the information? Because it
And
was a
by the way,
long file.
Yeah.
This is a separate, this has
Did
got
you send
nothing to
them
do
the
with the
guy's
debate.
name?
This is more on
Well, I sent the email assuming that's you kept saying like you go and you make a report, you think they're going to come back to you and say, hey,
Huh.
what's more information? We're investigating this. And that didn't happen, and which is what I raised.
No,
I
I'm
found
asking,
that
did you send them the
especially
source of
because
the
this was at a
claim?
time where they were saying that they wanted to explore every possible lead. I even texted Dan Bongino.
But did you?
So actually it was three offices.
let me ask one
The
question. and then
executive
I'm gonna come to you.
office,
Yeah.
Dan Bongino,
Yeah.
and Tulsi Gabbard's office.
Okay, so a follow up to that is the following.
Mhm.
If they contact you to say, is that specifically to the French government or Israel's involvement in the killing of Charlie Kirk?
That wasn't about
Those
Israel.
are two separate things.
That wasn't about Israel. It was
Okay,
they were
got it.
saying the French foreign, that person as a part of it was saying that it was the French Foreign Legion that was on the ground that
So
day.
I'm
And I
surprised they haven't
think
called you.
then I find that to be very strange
Very-
too.
I do as well.
Because
Mike,
who would want to make a report? Like, I mean, I've never
Well,
made a report with the federal
but
let
when
me
you
government.
ask one
did-
question.
but
Let me
when you
just
did
ask one
send
question.
it-
Mhm.
Let me just ask one
Okay.
question, and I'm going to bring
Okay.
it to you.
Patrick, you
The
asked too
question
many
is
questions.
in
bro.
regards to, I've not seen that clip, so I'm seeing it now.
Mhm.
I'm full confidence. I believe that
Mhm.
Israel and French was involved. Is that also based on a source that somebody told you that Israel was involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk, or is that a gut feeling?
So in terms of Israel, I mean, what I've said is what I publicly have said here. I do think that at the end of this, we are going to find that Israel was involved. I do. Now, in terms of any of the hard evidence that's been presented, I think this has been a huge problem that a lot of us have had is that
Mhm.
they won't even explore anything else that was going on in Charlie's life personally. So if we're not satisfied that Tyler Robinson did this in any way, then every alternative theory should be explored. Other evidence should be brought forward. We've done that in our capacity. Like when people keep saying she has no evidence, it's kind of crazy. I think we've broken like more stories than any news source in the world. I mean, down to pictures, details, police officers, what the dog's name was, because we're not the only people that believe there's a conspiracy here. The police officers that were involved, the many police sheriff's offices that were departments that were involved that day, all believe there was a conspiracy. Down to the U.S. Marshals believe there was a conspiracy. They were my sources at the U.S. Marshals were saying they were basically sent on a wild goose chase that day.
But do you see how you say my sources?
Am I not allowed to have sources?
Well,
Like
the thing is funny.
So is CNN allowed to have
Well,
sources?
hang on. I
but
have
we can't?
sources. If I said I have sources that claim none of that's true. In fact, my sources claim that her sources are lying. My sources claim that none of them believe that there's a conspiracy. My sources claim all of them really think that Tyler Robinson was a lone gunman. If I just said that as hypothetical, wouldn't you say, what?
Yeah, I think what probably adds weight is like then when I drop photos of the car that no one was supposed to see, people go, okay, her sources are legit. So, and then when what I say is then proven in court and nobody knew those things, people are recognizing that my sources are legit. When I say Charlie was scared in the last days, and then I dropped the text message, which you've just learned about a couple of weeks ago, of him saying he was leaving the pro-Israel cause when everyone was lying about that, then they say, I think Candace's sources are legit. So I think what's happened is I've actually built up a rapport with my audience that it's not vibes and dreams. And that's why they keep watching my content, because like, for example, when I just the other day released the content of the shooter on the roof doing the lateral crawl, then they're going, I don't think these are just vibes. It seems like Candace's sources are legit. So I've proven myself in the market.
Yeah, I'm not sure that would legitimize your sources as being legitimate when it comes to the idea that, oh, They all believe that there's a conspiracy going on, which is actually what your claim is now. How
Well,
would that
I was
actually,
just-
hang on, I'm almost done.
How would that talking to PBD?
How would that
about it.
legitimize?
She
Well,
keeps
it's not his
cutting
debate.
him
How
off.
would it legitimize these sources? That even if it's the case that you get some court footage or some things like this, why would it legitimize that your sources are telling you all the marshals believe it's a conspiracy, all the police believe it's a conspiracy, everybody believes it? How would that legitimize?
Well,
any
what
of
I
that?
am saying to you, and you are not forced to believe it. So let me just explain what I was answering here, and I think that you understood what I was saying. Is I have, because people trust me, compiled a lot of information and presented it to the public, and this information has been proven true. We've presented photos, we have presented videos, never before seen stuff. The public has never seen it. And so what that does is your audience goes, okay, when she says that she has these sources, clearly she's telling the truth. Now, whether you would then go, well, I'm going to believe her when she says they don't believe, they think that there's a conspiracy, that's up to you. You cannot watch my content. I'm not here to tell you that you have to watch my content or believe everything I'm saying.
Well, don't you think
But I am-
questioners should get questioned as well?
By who? I'm not committing a crime, am I? By just like saying what
Well,
I
I
think and
mean,
collecting
aren't
evidence.
most of the people you ask questions of not actually committing crimes?
But what do you mean they should answer questions where? Like at a police station? Like what are you
just
saying?
like if you want people to come in and answer questions for you. I have questions about this in the investigation. I have questions about this. I have questions about that. You want them to answer your questions. Doesn't it seem totally fair that you answer back the questions people have for you?
No, they're not answering our questions. So it's also fair that they don't answer them.
So you're
That's why I
okay,
said
so I just
Andrew
wanna-
Colvett should be in this chair. He's not.
But
That's
isn't
his
that a double?
prerogative.
But isn't that a double standard?
No, it's not, because he's not doing it.
Yeah, but what that would still be a double standard. If you're requesting that he does,
She's
do
getting
it,
cooked,
then that
bro.
seems to infer that you think he owes you answers.
Oh, so inferences are allowed again?
And they never weren't. So that seems to infer that you think that he owes you answers. If that's the case, then don't you owe answers?
Yeah, well, I feel like I'm answering your questions and his questions about. I mean, I'm talking
You're
about
not,
Andrew
Candace.
Colvett. His position is he's a spokesperson for Turning Point USA.
Uh-huh.
So when the crowd turns against Turning Point USA on the basis of a lack of information or because there has been, I don't know, seeds sown of distrust, I would imagine, and forget answering my questions because it doesn't need to be me.
Then aren't you sowing a lot of those seeds of distrust?
Well, I think they're doing a pretty good job themselves, if I'm being honest. You can blame it on Candace all you want.
Well,
People love to do that.
The thing is funny is
People
like,
act like I'm
I think
ground
their
zero.
PR I'll be fair with you.
Ground zero of people
I
not
think-
trusting Turning Point USA.
I think that there was some
actually kind of
PR
the
there.
last.
I think there was some PR there. Sure, they could have done better. Absolutely. I'm not disputing any of that. One thing, though, that I want to just directly ask you is, do you actually believe that anybody in TPUSA or Erica Kirk or Erica actually participated, had foreknowledge of, or facilitated the murder of Charlie Kirk?
I'm not going to get myself into
Wow.
a legal pickle here. Everything
Wow.
I've said is on my podcast.
How would that
think
get you in a legal
I think
pickle?
firmly that if I was the investigating officers, I would seat them all and
Answer
I
the
would
question.
ask questions. I would at this phase. I would.
Okay,
So,
what does
using a
that mean?
hypothetical,
Does that mean that you do think so?
I think it was not a sufficient investigation into what we know to be true of 80% of homicides. It's usually conducted by someone you know, right? And the fact that that was never even considered, that like I said earlier, the backpack was returned.
How do you know that was never considered?
Because they gave back the backpack as just one example. They gave back the backpack. They gave back the.
That doesn't show a conspiracy.
Well, I mean, it shows that the police trusted everybody and didn't just hold things up for a
Yeah,
second.
they
and
ruled them out as suspects.
that quickly. I'm not comfortable with that investigation. It's a pretty big organization. There's $100 million incentive. This is
What $100 million incentive?
what I'm saying is his organization, it had grown to, I think it was 100
Plus per year.
Yeah, per year. If that's something you want to factor,
Yeah,
in,
but
that's fine.
your team wants to play video, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
There's a video they want to play of Candace said it's impossible to not believe Erica's complicit. If you guys want to play that video.
Could also just ask
And
them,
so
but
right
sure.
now, their guys are going out and they're going to look for evidence. And then by May, which is fortunately around the corner, then she'll see what they found. So what the F is that performance? How could you sit up there and say, yes, I 100% believe Tyler Robinson did it. That right there is why it is impossible for me to think that Erica Kirk is not complicit somehow. Because what?
Those two thoughts actually don't even follow. How would it be the case that even if Erica Kirk did believe that Tyler Robinson was 100% responsible for the death of Charlie Kirk, let's just say she believed it with every fiber of her being, believed all the evidence, because she did. She just actually did. Would it then follow that somehow she's complicit in his death?
I didn't say complicit in death. You added those two words.
Okay, it's what's she complicit in?
Yes. So sowing this narrative that Tyler Robinson is guilty. So you're chopping up clips. Like I said, you didn't have the confidence to come
Okay,
in
well,
and
tell
debate.
me,
So
what
now
does
you're
that mean?
chopping
What
it
does
up.
complicit mean?
We are showing a clip of her.
He
on
is
Barry
debating
Weiss,
you. You're not
which
answering
I can't remember
questions.
the date that she did that interview. And Erica, when she is asked, "Are you one? You know, do you feel with 100% certainty that Tyler Robinson did this?" And she says, "I do." Then again, context matters. I sit down with Erica for 4 hours under the assumption that she had some evidence, right? Like I'm like, I actually, this is why I did not engage in any like Erica, everyone's questioning what she's wearing and all this stuff. I was like, I'm going to wait here because I don't know, just it feels weird to think that, did I think that some of her mannerisms were weird and stuff like that? Yeah, but that's not, you can't convict somebody on weird mannerisms. And then when I sat down with her and I was expecting for her to say, well, you know, I'm obviously the victim on the case and we got to see the shot, you know, taken or this or that, whatever it is. Great. You know, that's why she has that much confidence 2 months ago. And when I sat down with her, it was nothing. It was nothing. Okay. So this is a conversation.
How would that make her complicit?
Complicit. And again, you said complicit in the death of Charlie Kirk.
Complicit in what? Yeah.
Well, if you let me finish my sentence, I could tell you that.
You're
but
not
my
going to
point
answer
being is
that. She's
then
not
you
going to
take a
answer
look at
that.
this and you go, okay, well, this is weird. Why would you have this confidence? And then when you sit across from somebody and you say, okay, great, I want to go out there and defend you now. I want people to know that you can't say this stuff publicly, but you know more things. And she just blanks. And then she says, well, I'm going to call the lawyer. And she called the lawyer. Again, all of this is on my show. So out of context clips is not going to work because I know what I say on my show.
Okay.
So we call her lawyer and her lawyer says to us, she calls him on the phone, pardon me. And
She won't answer the question about the
and
complicit.
I'm like,
He's
okay,
not
great.
going to answer that.
What do you guys have? He goes, well, we don't have anything yet. We're not at that phase yet. And I'm like, well, what do you mean you don't have anything? And he says, well, don't you know how it works? It's a probable cause hearing. So basically the state says that they're going to bring this forward. And now our people go out and they look for the evidence to assert that Tyler Robinson is guilty. And so I asked her directly, her lawyer directly, the phone's in between us. I'm like, wait, so just so I'm clear, you haven't seen anything that the public hasn't seen? And he says, no. So I'm going back in my head and I'm going, okay, so why is Erica saying with such a degree of certainty, like she was sent out to convince the public and people bit, by the way. I remember even Megyn Kelly was like,
and what is she complicit of? Answer the question.
She's going to have access to things. I did think she had access to things that we didn't have. Why express that confidence to the public as opposed to just being like,
nobody asked you all that.
Candace, he's involved.
Answer the question.
How would any of this make her complicit, and in what?
Well, I've already told you. She's complicit.
You didn't tell us anything.
In trying to fool the public into thinking this is some open and shut
How's
case.
she trying to fool the public into this? If she believes
Like, don't look
if she
anywhere
believes
else.
that Tyler Robinson killed Kirk, if she believes that, how would that be complicit in anything?
I do.
Are you
believe,
saying that you think she doesn't believe
I don't believe that at that stage she sat down with Barry Weiss that's what she believes. No, but that's my opinion.
Right. But so when you just say complicit, you just mean she believes that Tyler Robinson killed Kirk? That's it?
That's what we were talking about. That's why I said if your strategy was to dice up clips and take it out of context and make it seem like I said she was complicit.
Everything.
Yeah, but then why not just play the full thing? Like why? And
because we don't have like infinite amounts of time, I'm guessing. You probably don't want to watch.
Well, I'm going to go back to my theory that you didn't feel confident that you could defend your claim that it was overwhelming evidence. So now you're trying to move towards doctored clips and getting me to respond to it.
There's no doctored anything. I'm just making sure that we got this right.
Yes,
that what you're actually saying is that Erica is just complicit in believing it.
When I re-examined her actions backward, because I did not have this perspective of her at the beginning, which is why it's so funny to me that you guys make it seem like I'm ground zero. People thought Erica was sus from day I forgive him. And I was not a part of that. I did not lean into that. I did not contribute to that. I was getting actually terrible messages from my fans being like, Candace, you and Charlie always say to go with your intuition. You won't address this, how we all feel about her. Things changed for me when I saw that Zoom call. I will tell you that. For sure. And the fact that she lied to me. So I sat across from her and, I wanted to have that conversation publicly, but they're probably grateful they didn't do it publicly. she told me some lies. And so the next thing that happens naturally when somebody lies to you, when any person lies to you, whether it's a toddler, people only lie when they're trying to obscure something else.
Have you addressed what that lie was?
Yeah, I've talked about, we have a list of lies that we've been told by Charlie. We can find that,
in
I'm
the
sure.
meeting with her.
Well, no, I didn't want her to cage up. I didn't want to do this, and because I didn't know what to expect. Like I didn't know if she was going to be like, I'm so overwhelmed with everything, and I don't know who to trust in the organization, and I don't know what I'm doing. Like I didn't know. I didn't want to.
Just out of curiosity, before anything happened with Charlie, how close were you and Erica?
Not very close.
So there's not a relationship.
No, I would say it's totally normal. Like it's not like there was any issues at all. We were always nice to each other. It just is our life went to a different phase, right? So Charlie and I hitting the ground, running around, traveling 4 days a week. Now I get married. I find love of my life. I get married and I get pregnant. I've been pregnant. I haven't stopped being pregnant. And what you want out of life changes. You don't want to be running around for 4 days a week and traveling on a plane nonstop. You suddenly want to start building at home and live. I was desiring that suburban life.
Did you guys ever do the double dates? You, George, her, and Charlie? Was there ever double dates between the four of you?
I was engaged to George quickly. We were planning our wedding. I was kind of in my bubble with George. George traveled with me and Charlie, but Erica and him were just starting to date at the beginning of 2019. George and I were planning our marriage. So George really got to know Charlie. I wouldn't say that I really got to know Erica. I was just rooting for them because I knew how much Charlie wanted to, find love. And so I was kind of his wing woman throughout that phase. And I was just happy. And I never was under the impression, obviously, that they were going to get married when they were dating. So it wasn't like I was conscious, I really need to get to know this person. And so it was just kind of normal that by that time, because of where I was in my life, that I wasn't spending any time getting to know Erica per se.
So the complicit part about Erica to you, is that a gut feeling? You think
it transformed when she lied?
You can take the lead. I'm just asking questions.
Yeah,
Go for it.
I actually I still don't understand what you think she's complicit in.
Yeah. So when I say Erica's complicit, that's my opinion. When you tweeted Erica's too retarded to kill her husband, would you like to explain how you developed your evidence?
Well,
your
what about
positive
you?
Evidence for the fact that Erica was retarded.
What about what you did?
Yeah, sure. So I just think all women are retarded.
Oh, so you're allowed to just say stuff. Who knew? So and
You
what?
just
And by
asked
the way,
me.
and
Like,
what dramatically transformed your opinion of Erica after going to the headquarters? Because you were pretty hostile about.
I wasn't hostile towards them.
You don't think calling somebody too retarded?
No, come on. That's like normal tongue-in-cheek stuff for me online.
Oh, you're being tongue-in-cheek.
Usually when I call someone
Sir,
retarded, being
the
tongue-in-cheek,
question, Candace.
like for instance, you got supporters. I mean, if you want to use the same exact argument, you would take a supporter like Owen Benjamin. He called you bad names and called your husband bad names. You're just like, well, it's no biggie.
I've never answered him on anything that he said. I'm saying that you now are her biggest defender. So do you still think
I'm not her biggest defender?
Do you still think she's too retarded?
No. I didn't know Erica Kirk. I'd never met her before.
Okay, but you had an issue with Turning Point being led by a bunch of fembots talking about the feminist angle.
Still do.
And then suddenly you go to the headquarters.
Still think it's a terrible idea.
You go into the headquarters. Now all of a sudden you've got text messages that you're sharing with them. You say that you and your wife are getting involved with management.
No. I'm not involved in any management at Turning Point.
Well, I'm pretty sure there is a clip of you where you say that your wife went to their recent conference and sat down. And then when you were on Joe Rogan.
No. Hang on. I'll explain what happened just so that you understand.
Yeah.
So I was invited there to do some debate training. That's literally what I was invited there to do on recommendation. So I went down and did some debate. That's the first time I ever met anybody at TPUSA.
Okay. And then you said you sat down with Erica.
Well, I didn't sit down to her. I talked to her in a hallway.
So you didn't sit down and
Wow,
speak with
Candace,
Erica?
you're getting everything
I didn't
wrong.
have like some sit down long conversation. We talked in a hallway.
Okay. Is
I
that
don't
when you
know,
gave her
maybe-
the hug?
Yeah, gave her the hug right there. My wife did too. We were both very sorry for what happened.
Okay.
to
So
her.
at what point did you start receiving text messages from that you cited in your opening statement?
I just reached out to TPUSA and said,
She's
I'm prepping
losing.
for a debate. Is there anything that's pertinent that I can use here?
Do you find it interesting that people have been asking for, basic answers to questions and You're saying that you walked into their headquarters and reached out and they
It's
instantly.
amazing, isn't it? If you reach out in good faith and you're not demonizing them and saying that they're complicit in the murder of people's deaths, that perhaps they're actually willing to release things to you that are pertinent, other than thinking that, perhaps you're diabolical.
Well, I don't know. I, just
and don't
think,
have the
I
best
feel like if I was
intentions.
going to release that information, I didn't demand that it be released to me. I actually never demanded that it be released. I just simply said that this is what was going on in the last 48 hours. Maybe to the media, they could release it. They could release it to PBD. They decided to release it to a guy that called Erica too retarded in June.
So what?
Yeah, I just think it kind of shows that Turning Point is sending you as their horse.
Well, I don't know
They
where
just don't have
I
the
don't know where
courage to
you-
have the conversation.
Like, I don't
If they
see
were
this-
just releasing something in
Let
good
me ask you
faith
a
to answer
question.
questions,
Do you have any
I've never
evidence of that
demanded.
claim?
It's not evidence.
No.
You're sharing your opinion
No.
that she's too retarded. I can't share my
Uh-huh.
opinion that I think it's going
Well,
to
I never
register
met the
as
chick.
really obvious to the public. That rather than presenting that throughout the course of everybody wanting to know what Charlie was going through his last days, they decided to give it to you to come to my house as some sort of a surprise.
Well,
do you think the
when-
public's not smart enough to
do
see
you
through
think,
that?
Do you think that if
It's
you
talking
know,
about terrible
Shut
PR?
you know that
up.
there's a huge debate that's coming up that's going to be probably one of the most viewed that year, and one of the debaters calls you and says, I'm taking this position. This is the position that I feel like there's the most evidence for. And Candace also agreed to answer many of my questions in regards to this. So if you got pertinent evidence here that I can use, I'd definitely like to take a
But
look.
what is the-
It was actually amazing to me. It really was actually amazing to me how if you approach people in good faith and just say, hey, I'd actually like to know what the facts and details are around this, they actually do talk to you. It's amazing.
Yeah,
Philip, I need
just
your-
do not believe that they are doing this in good faith. I don't believe that anything.
Philip, I
you
need
have
your,
done is demonstrated
address,
that's in
brother. I
good
gotta
faith.
send
It
you them stats.
demonstrates that you walked
I
into
need your
Turning Point
address,
USA
Philip.
headquarters and came out a different man because you were critical of the organization. You
Still am.
were critical of Erica, and now you're sitting here going,
Well,
Candace,
first
I
of
want to
all,
interrogate you for
have
an
you ever
hour and a half
been-
about
hang
everything
on,
you've
hang on.
ever
Have
said
you ever
about
been
Erica.
critical of somebody that you hadn't met and then you meet them and you're less critical of them?
And the inverse has happened too. I was
You're right,
less critical about
exactly.
Erica, and now I'm more
But I'm
critical
asking
about her.
you, isn't it the case that there's people you've been critical of and then
Mhm.
you've met them and you're less critical after you meet them?
Too retarded. I feel like if you think that she's dumb and let's just talk about your record. I mean, you're a person that has spent time in what most people would term to be the manosphere.
Here we go.
Talking about
Here we
feminine.
go.
Well, yeah.
I debate against
against feminists.
and red pillars.
Okay.
And a lot of the actual. So I'm a Christian ethicist. I
And then
always
you
take
go
the
on to
ethics
Joe
position.
Rogan and you're like soft explaining away why Erica had to take over Charlie's company when they don't have a parent at home. So now you're a feminist icon. Like you just go into the headquarters and you just shift all of your perspective.
That's a bizarre criticism. Like nobody's in the bigger girl boss position than you.
Yeah, I'm actually no.
You're in the
this is-
biggest of the girl boss positions. Like you don't have to do this.
Look,
You just do this. You could definitely not do it at all and be fine, right? But
I
you
don't-
still do.
I would say that you are making a comparison that cannot be compared because Erica's husband was just assassinated in front of the world.
Which
The
makes sense. Why
parents-
she would take the organization
No,
over.
that it makes sense why you would go home to your kids, just so you know.
Wait a second. That's bizarre. You
Because
wanna
they don't have a
protect-
parent. They don't have a
you wanna
parent and they've
protect-
just suffered a trauma. You don't
Yeah.
go into the office.
You
6
want to
days later.
protect your husband's legacy.
Yeah,
right.
no.
And you're trying to find some
The
new
legacy
normal.
is his children, not the organization.
It's both.
No,
Yes, it is both. It's totally rational and reasonable to
Nope.
believe that it would be both Turning Point USA, that is part of Charlie Kirk's legacy. He worked his whole life
I think
for
this
it.
is why people think she's
and,
sus.
and his children. Now, for you though, to say that anybody's a girl boss, right? That's
I
like the
didn't-
pot
that
calling the
came out
kettle
of-
black.
That came out of your mouth.
No, that was you. You brought up girl boss.
Girl boss came out of your mouth.
Yeah, I'm telling you that you brought up this idea that I'm defending.
She's
some
getting fucking
feminist
cooked.
nonsense.
She's getting
I'm not.
cooked.
I'm pointing out that they're. By the way,
She's not
there's
qualified
always
to take over
objective-
his company.
There's always objective outliers to each situation. In fact, it's the exception that proves the rule. And the interesting thing here is like, I'm still just as critical of feminism inside of TPUSA as I've always been. And I'm just as critical of any pro-Zionist position as I've ever been. None of that's ever changed. By the way, I would think it's the most rational, reasonable thing on planet Earth to do if you wanted to actually see an organization change, to try to work with leadership or reach out to leadership to try to do so. Doesn't that make the most amount of sense?
I would like to state for the record that I think Erica is underqualified from to run
Perhaps.
that to run the organization.
Sure.
And on the more emotional aspects, I agree with what seems to be a majority opinion, because I'm not gonna say it's scientific, that any woman that would leave her kids and go right into the office after their husband was publicly assassinated does not have their priorities straight.
Okay. Well, I understand that you can have those criticisms.
Yeah.
But I'm not understanding still how that would make her complicit.
I don't have to keep answering the same question.
Okay,
So
exactly.
let's
Your
see
feel
it.
like you got an answer to how it's complicit.
Your team is asking to play a clip. So if we
Okay.
want to play this clip to just finish this segment on the Erica Kirk topic, we can spend some time on that as well. So
Okay.
if you guys are ready in the back, we're ready.
and causing that 30-06 diameter, as would happen with a patent explosives, as we've demonstrated to you in the past, it accidentally, because of how Charlie was crouched, went up and hit his neck. And that ruined everything. That ruined everything. It was problematic. It's the reason why Terrell then had to scramble to get the cameras down, because they were never supposed to see it. They could have said reasonably that a 30-06 got eaten by Charlie, much more reasonably, obviously, than saying that the chicken bones in his neck stopped it because he ate vegetables. They panicked. That was what then, that's why Terrell's nervous on the phone with me. Again, this is my theory, and I am now very much sticking to it. Okay. They panicked. It's the reason Erica had to step out. Once, that's why she would have gotten on the phone with Terrell so quickly, because I was going, why is Terrell saying, well, I didn't want Erica to relive. Oh, that's why I did it. He didn't have an answer. He was nervous. It was crazy. But he acknowledged it. He spoke to Erica immediately. Why did you speak to Erica immediately?
So do you believe
Exactly.
that there was a shape charge that killed Charlie?
Hey, can I ask you why you keep starting clips mid-sentence?
Probably to get to where the clip is.
No, it doesn't seem that way, because you can always start a clip at the beginning of a sentence. Like you're just it's completely out of context.
Wait,
But
I didn't
yes, so
prepare the
in
clips, but
yeah, I think
I
it's
didn't,
like you
but
were
it's
kinda
fine
ready.
to ask it to back
Like
it up.
I said, I don't need to say what's happening here because the internet will clock it. But in this episode,
She's
we
so
are
fucking
now
arrogant,
going,
man.
and that's why I said we're now going to look at some alternative theories. I made it very clear that this was a theory that I didn't want to look at. This is, I believe, because I don't have every episode on my head, but I'm pretty sure this is an episode where we presented the evidence that was in the car, the photos of what was in the car, right? And so we are now inferring off of what we see in the car that this very much does look like that we see a bunch of shattered road microphone, which was an early theory that I was actually interested in, but couldn't really wrap my head around what was the shape charge explosive. As I say at the beginning of the episode, it was just not my expertise. And I was concerning myself with timelines and stories and statements that didn't make sense. Without question, Terrell Farnsworth is someone who made me think that we were missing a big part of the story. So I'm walking them through. John theory. If we
All right, guys, we've been here over 3 hours, and this is going in nowhere. Sounds to me that she is jealous. I mean, who does she think is qualified herself? Perhaps, yeah. I'm done with this debate. I've seen enough. I've seen actually too much. Candace Owens absolutely got cooked in this. I'm sorry. I'm not saying she is lying on her show or whatever, but she relies on, watch my show. Watch my show. She's so arrogant. She overtalks him. She's so defensive. She doesn't answer questions. Again, when I debate people all the time. Okay. Look at her body language. I wrote some down here. For someone that does this every single day, and she has all the evidence, just list the things. Yeah, she's not prepared for this. Okay. She's very, very defensive. She's making really, really stupid claims. Why not just tell us the beginning of the sentence, thus challenging them to disprove you faster, more effective? True. Send it. Thank you, man. I got it. So I'm going to pay you out. I owe you some sats from yesterday, brother. Okay, got it. Thank you, bro. All right, so I'm going to get up out of here. Thank you guys so much for coming in. I really, really appreciate you guys, all right? Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. And until then, and as you guys know, I love each and every one of you, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace and love, guys.